night, waking, we are taking, this is our time. Just breathe, this will be a hard fight. The truth cash shadows in the night.
What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy Friday. I hope everybody's enjoying yourself and getting ready for the great weekend. Bringing Johnny on now. He just came in. Hey, Johnny, just started. How's it going, buddy? You're not feeling very well?
No, man, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you hear me? Okay.
yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm definitely under the weather. And like I was explaining to our guest, it's not very difficult at all to sit and have a conversation with people. What I'm concerned about is the medication I've taken. So we don't want things to get weird. So
Wake up, Johnny. Wake up,
I'm
Johnny.
going, yeah, so I just wanted to say hey, and I wanted to at least meet Frank, talk to him for a little bit, and go ahead and uh, there's something I had to bring up specific. Oh, Molina. Uh, the Molina Festival is November 8th, and I didn't have any plans of going this year, and I definitely wasn't going to give a presentation this year. I have in the past, but my off days have changed and I just need a break. So I think I am going to go. So those of you that are going to be around Molina, Georgia, which is, I think it's fairly close to Griffin, Georgia. I think me and Lloyd, possibly Hank, and another dude that I've been talking to off and on for a while. He was in the Marine Corps. He kind of got out of this for a while and got back into it. Anyway, so they've got City Hall. Angie Williamson, which was on our team for a couple of years. She's joined another team now, or another field research team that's closer to where she lives. But she's running the whole thing, and she's done a good
Oh,
job
nice.
in the past. And they have one year it was rough. The last year I gave a presentation there because they had us in a tent. Uh, it was like a tent with three walls, and they've got
Mm.
like food trucks and stuff and speakers playing music and all that. It was terrible. But this year they've got, it wasn't her fault. They literally had another place set up before that we were supposed to do the presentation, and then they like kicked us all out into a tent. But this year they have City Hall, so at least the people doing the presentations will have an actual a screen and the speakers and all that good stuff. So I think the presentations are at 10 o'clock and at 1 o'clock. Uh, I'm gonna try to get something like that and then do the 1 o'clock presentations and go hang it. I think Angie's got a couple of people that she wants me to meet up with. Uh, Hopefully bring some people on the podcast, get some interviews, and just see people I haven't seen in a couple of years. And that's pretty much it. So, but what about you, man?
Well, I've had a
You
good
got some good news?
Yeah, yeah. I finally nailed down a job, you know. So I've had a good 3 week vacation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But really, I was blessed, and some doors opened up, and I had choices, which was really good. So today, I received an offer letter from a company, a logistics company, and I accepted. So I look forward to that career and getting involved in that, and I'm really excited about it. And it's a brand new company that just opened up in a town that's 15 minutes from me, and it's a subsidiary of another company, but this is a you know it's privately owned, but it's a subsidiary of a much larger company. So he hit me up. We had a great interview, and it was like talking to an old friend. So he hit me up. I just interviewed on Wednesday, and then today he offered me sent me an offer letter and an email, and I accepted. And hopefully in the next week or two, I'll be starting that. And life is good, man. Life is good. Especially for around here, it's a pretty decent job for this area. So
Good, man.
pretty happy. Yeah, it's a good change for me to get out of what I've been doing for so many
Yeah.
years and do something different. You know, so I'm excited, really
Well,
excited.
that'd be good, man. I know that's that is never a fun process, and there's days that I absolutely can't stand my job, and then I think about the alternative, like what, it's a bad situation to be in, having to look for a job, especially at our age. So
Oh yeah,
that's a really good thing, and I'm very happy for you, man.
oh yeah. I was I wasn't at that level yet where I was getting really overly worried, but I was getting in that gray area that where I really hope something pops up soon so I can at least start that conversation. And it did,
Right.
and it overwhelmed me. I mean, it was one after the other. I got multiple options, some of it in the field that I was in, and but I just had this overwhelming feeling to do something different. So there's other offers. When they sent me the letters, I declined them, and then I just prayed heavy on it that something big was going to come my way, and sure enough, it did. And I'm very happy, and I look forward to it. And I think there's a lot of future potential in this job, and looking forward to it. Really, I'm looking for a new chapter, so I'm really happy. So
Right. Well, good, man.
no,
Congratulations.
no more, yeah, no more dealing with contracts. Not worrying about
Yeah.
renewal every year and and stuff like that. And I was lucky enough that the one I was on lasted 4 years, and that was good. But everything comes to an end, and this is one of those fields where I really don't have to worry about that anymore. So, but we'll get to the show. We have a
Good.
great guy tonight. Um, Frank is a great guy. A little bit of background. Frank hit me up a couple of years ago through email before the podcast for all this when I had my own channel and wanting to get together and go camping with me and check out what I'm doing and stuff like that. And I always told him, yeah, man, anytime. We'll. But it just never, timing and stuff like that. That happens. But
Right.
um, we're gonna get into his story because he's really and I'm really keen on trying to pick his mind and what made him not only get into this field, but what has motivated him to do the things that he's done in this field in such a short period of time. And so he's well traveled and has experienced things that some of us just talk about. And he's kind of stretched himself out there and experienced those things. And so I think it's going to be a great conversation about his journey. This is a great thing. This is his journey in the Bigfoot world. So
Right.
let's bring Frank on. Hey, what's up, Frank? How you doing, buddy?
Hey, and what's going on, Richard? What's going on, Johnny?
What's up, Frank?
Not
Glad
much.
you found your way back.
I appreciate it. Yeah,
Good
me
old
too.
fashioned StreamYard. Gotta love it.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, just a warning to the people in the chat or people watching live that we are again having issues with Streamyard. It's not us per se. It is absolutely Streamyard because I can see the gauge up here and it's not stable. But we've gone through worse. We've gone through worse. So right
Yeah.
now
Well,
it seems pretty good.
congratulations on the job, and Johnny, I hope you feel better, man.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. Like I said, I'm gonna let y'all have it, but I at least wanted to you know, just let you know
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on and at least meet you just for a few seconds. And definitely I'll be watching and definitely like to get, I mean, you're well traveled, man, and I'm always willing to go out in the woods. So we can always make something happen.
Yeah, I'm definitely down for that, man. Yeah, I mean it's an honor to be on here, and I'm glad I get to meet you. I've met Richard a couple of years ago, and talked to him a few times, and first time meeting you, though. I mean, I've seen you online and stuff, and watched some of your stuff. So I mean, it'd be anytime, man. I'm definitely down to get out, and I do travel quite a bit to explore this stuff, and so anytime you all want to get together and stuff, I'm definitely down. I love being
Excellent.
out. Yeah.
Maybe we could plan
Well,
something in the future because you're in Homestead. You actually
Yep.
have to semi kind of pass me to go northward because
Right.
I'm in Sebring. So
Yeah. Yeah.
maybe we can plan to go see Johnny
Yeah.
and you swing by, we load my stuff up and we drive up together and spend some time up there at Johnny's place or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm totally down. I'm definitely down for that because I'm
yeah,
just
we
I'm always open to go new places and try to learn. So and Georgia's one of the places that I've not. I was supposed to go on an expedition there this past year, and it ended up getting canceled. And so Georgia's definitely a place that I've read some stuff on and studied it out a little bit. But it's definitely a place that I would want to come and spend some time in the woods.
yeah, we can definitely make it happen. And there's all kinds of places we can go. I would like to try to find somewhere new. Um, I'm
I'm
not.
not sure what places that you normally go. I just the places that I know. I got a buddy that lives in southeast Georgia, and he knows some good spots down there. And then I've always heard the northeast spot's pretty good spot. Uh, I know the Appalachians run through there, so I'm
Yeah.
sure that's always a good spot to go.
Well, we can just lay a map out and see
Yeah,
what we can come up with. I don't know how. Uh, the main place, the place that Richard's been with me, that we call the happy place. I'm not sure how much longer that's going to last. Uh,
just
Number
just from
one, it's
Middleton.
the there's pretty much nothing worth reporting that's happened since 2022 when we had our sightings. It's
Gotcha.
like the activity has just gone completely downhill, and I don't know why that is. There's only been a few things that have happened, like a couple vocals. I got a pretty decent rock throw, like it might have been last year, or maybe it was the year before last. I can't remember. It all runs in together now,
Right.
but I don't know what's going on. It was like the best place and the most amazing things I've ever experienced in my life, and it just went to nothing. So
Right.
I don't know. I don't know whether just need to give it time to cool off or what the deal is, but I don't know. We'll find somewhere though. There's always places. There's actually some pretty decent places near me, you know, that are connected to the management area behind my property. So
I've always
I don't
said we should just camp out in your backyard and just hop the fence and go looking for Bigfoot.
know. Yeah, yeah. Well, unfortunately, in the county I'm in, you got to be real careful about the fences you hop.
Yeah.
You may well end up getting shot. It's people don't take kindly to trespassing around here. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll definitely figure something up. Figure something out. But I'm gonna let you guys have it. And Frank, thanks again, bud.
Hey, I appreciate it, man. Feel better, dude.
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, thank you. I'll talk to you later on, Richard. I'll be watching.
All right, brother.
All right, man. Bye.
All right.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
Johnny.
sorry he's not feeling well.
No, that's
And
all right.
he's got a new baby. He's got a new baby, so he's got to be careful with that, not get the baby sick.
Right.
And then of course I told him earlier that once the baby grows up and goes into school, the parents and everybody else tends to stay sick.
Yeah, I just gotta
So
say, I get nervous every school year when it starts.
yeah. So I have a lot of questions and I want to delve into a lot of things because we're going to get into some things that I think that the audience is really going to be interested in hearing your viewpoint. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And like I was explaining earlier, is you hit me up a long time ago, and we talked on email and stuff like that, and it didn't jive. I mean, because life gets
Yeah.
busy, things happen,
Yeah.
and so no big deal there. But you've been on this journey. You've been on this and that's the best word I can say is you're just on this journey to not only have your own personal experience and see Bigfoot, your own Class A sighting, but you're also trying to find the truth. What is the truth? What is
Yeah.
going on here? What, you know what I mean? So let's
Mm-hmm.
start there. Let's go back to, when was it and what were you thinking when you said, you know what, I'm interested in this. I want to delve further.
Oh, uh, I would say probably around the time COVID started. I was working with a guy down here. He was from Ohio, and big Sasquatch guy. And every day at work, he would, you know, around lunchtime, not every day, but I would say a couple times a week, he would just, start talking about it and stuff. And to be honest, like, I'd never really put a lot of thought into it. And honestly, it brought me back to a story that, looking back now, there was a guy at Publix. I'm just one of those type of people. My wife always gets on to me when I go to places. I end up talking to just random people. I'm a nice guy. I try to, so, like, if I go to a gas station, I make friends with the person that's behind the counter. It's one of those things. So, like, I was sitting there chatting with this guy, and he asked me where I was from with the accent, and I told him I was from Harlan, Kentucky, and he's like, "Oh, you're up there in Bigfoot country, and I just kind of laughed, and I was like, "Oh yeah, and you could tell he, I see now what I've experienced. I guess kind of what I done to him uh, by laughing, that he was into it, and I just didn't know much about it, and I just, with my military experience and stuff like that, I just kind of told him, I was like, I was like, he's like, you don't believe in Bigfoot? And I was like, no. I was like, with all the stuff that they got now, you would have pictures and videos and things like that, and uh, not realizing how far off I really was at the time, because, like, uh, I'd never really looked into it. So I just, if I ever run across a guy, I'd probably apologize to him, because uh, knowing what I know now, it would have been a totally different conversation. But the guy that I was working with, every day he would, well, a couple times a week, he would talk to me, and he would show me stuff online. And I don't remember the name of the one group, but a lot of it was pareidoia stuff, and I couldn't get into it. And then he started talking about, he started showing me, like, some of the tree structures, and telling me some of the stuff they do about throwing rocks. And I was sitting there, like, and it just started clicking, and I was like, man, like, growing up, I stayed in the mountains. Me and my friends always, that's all we done where I grew up, because it was nothing but mountains everywhere. Any direction you point in, you're hours and hours in the mountains. And never owned a tent. We always just slept on the ground by the fire and stuff. And I remember, when he was saying some of this stuff, like, things started clicking in my head. I was like, well, I've had that happen. I've had rocks thrown at me. I've heard this. I've heard that. And so it kind of sparked an interest when he started telling me some of the stuff. So I kind of started getting interested in it. And then he showed me the Todd Stanton clips. And I thought, man, like, if that's real, that's pretty wild, And I hadn't seen the Patty footage at that time. I think the only thing that I had ever seen as far as a Bigfoot or a Sasquatch up until that time, and I don't even remember the name of it, was a clip of a Bigfoot wrestling a bear. And I just thought, man, like, if that's real, that's pretty unique. And my grandma, it started taking me back to, later on as I got into it, and started realizing people called these things wood boogers and things like that. That's what my grandma used to say, that stuff. Don't go out in the woods, wood boogers, and if you hear whistling, or the wood booger is going to get you, or woolly booger, and so I was like, and I missed out on a lot of conversations, I guess, with my family back then, because they're my grandma and them's dead, gone now. But I wish now, knowing what I would have known, I would have asked them some questions. But he was the one who basically got me into it, and when he kind of grinded me down with it, but I would say by the time that he started showing me this stuff, I'd realized that I had already experienced some of this stuff. So it really piqued an interest. And then from that point on, there was something in me that deep down really wanted to know for sure. And it's pretty much drove me pretty deep into it. I mean, I'm all in head first right now, and it's been fun, really. I've learned a lot, but I'm still so new. I'm there's still so much for me to learn, but I really enjoy it, and I think it's just another way that's got me back in the woods. And but I would say he's the one who really got me delved deep into it.
Right. So he got you interested, and then what'd you do? Did you start just looking online, reading
Honestly,
books, checking articles?
Yeah. So when he first he showed me a few YouTube things, and I didn't know anything about the BFRO or any of these groups. Didn't know there was anything like that, really. I started getting on YouTube and watching videos and stuff, and then I ran across the BFRO, and I looked up. I think I may have Googled Bigfoot expeditions or something, and I ran across the BFRO, and I seen that you could, go out on expeditions. So I was like, oh, sweet, I was like, so I hit up that and seen that they was fixing to do one in Tennessee, and Lori Wade reached out to me, and I started speaking with her, and she's been awesome. And she's been probably well, all my BFRO expeditions has been out with her and her group, and but like she's been great. And so I reached out and was talking with her, and she was upfront with me. She was like, now look, like, there's chances that it will happen, and and not saying that anything will happen, but we don't put up with any type of hoaxes. And so it kind of made me realize, like, the seriousness of it, which I was down for, because I don't want to be hoaxed, and I don't want any of that. And then the first time I went on an expedition, I was hooked, because I seen that it was serious. They treated it kind of military stylish, as far as, like, you get there, you you camp out, you explore places that people have researched and stuff, and then you come back and do a debrief the next morning and stuff like that. So like I was really drawn to it after that, and from that point on, like I mean, I've been reading books, anything and everything. I've reached out. Like I'm not ashamed. I've reached out to anybody and everybody I can and said, hey, I'm new to this. I want to learn. I want to go out with people. Uh, I want to learn everything I can about it. And I have went and uh, you know I've got to explore some pretty parts of the country because of it, uh, and some pretty
Yeah, yeah.
areas.
Let's get into that. So, yeah, you were saying that. So you researched and you came across the BFRO and they hold expeditions and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So your first expedition you said was in Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah, and that very first one where it's such a drive for me. Uh, I try to get there like a day or so early because usually they run from Thursday to Sunday. So I try to get there like a day or two early and stay a day or two after. That way I can get there, rest, because once it starts, like you're on the go. And
Right.
so my very first night there, I was one of the only ones in the camp, and I got woke up at 3 o'clock in the morning from a howl, and it hit me to my core, and the house started about 3 o'clock. It woke me dead up out of a sleep. It was so loud and guttural that it it really scared me. And then coyotes started, but it was so much louder and different than the coyotes. And I kind of laid there like just like, oh man, oh this is it. And uh,
Yeah,
it
that's
was
happened to me twice where I got there the night of. The first time was
yeah.
at Johnny's place, the happy place. First night, I'm laying in a tent. I hear this great vocal. I'm like, this is going to be a great week. This is going to be a lot of
Oh yeah.
fun. Then the same thing happened when I just left Ohio because I went to Ohio at the beginning of the month.
Mhm.
And first night there, got woken up with a loud vocal, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, this is going to be good.
Well, the thing that was unique about it was I'd never really heard it. I'd heard it like after it kind of reminded me of the Ohio howl, uh, but it was like I was in a little single tent, but it was almost like you could feel the tent vibrating, and
Right.
I just sat there. I was like, oh man! But that whole trip was super, super, super intense. Like we heard a lot of whoops, we had rocks thrown at us. We heard tree knocks, and I think for me that helped launch me into it because after that, that was my first expedition, and then here, I was thinking, maybe that all of them's going to be like that, and they wasn't. So I think the first one worked out so good and hooked me, and then it kind of died off and stuff. But like, uh, and I've learned just over time that that's part of it. But you know,
Oh yeah, because we've had that discussion,
right,
where it's
right,
it's it's being at the right place at the right time. Bigfoot
yeah,
sightings are usually happenstance. You happen to be there at the right day, the right night, the right time, the
yeah,
right temperature, whatever it is. You happen to
right.
be there, and then all of a sudden you have this fantastic moment, and because
I
we talked
think
about that, where people
right,
have you know
yeah,
a ton of freaking every time they go out they got all these sightings and stuff and you're like
right,
it doesn't
yeah.
really work that
That,
way.
that's not realistic. If that's the case, I want to go out with those people. uh,
Right, exactly.
because like I've been doing it quite a bit. I've been out on at least 10 or 11 expeditions this year alone, and
Dang.
I think maybe I've spent probably 50 to 60 days out, and maybe tops, 4 or 5 days out of it, if that, like really something's went down. And uh, one of them that happened this year was in a very close proximity of the very first expedition that I went on. So I just think that they're in that low. I think they're in that region. I think that first place I went in Tennessee and the place that I went to this year in Kentucky, it's only about an hour difference in driving. So I just think that that's one of the areas that that they either live in or they pass through or whatever. But that's been two good locations that I've been to, and they're very close in proximity. So you know that's been a good one. Both times, it can scare you, So I mean, it's fun, but it can be scary too.
Well, it is. Yes,
Yeah.
it's a scary thought that you're out there, and it's really funny because we talk about it that I'm in this tent that is thinner than a piece of paper, but I feel safe.
Right.
I feel safe inside the tent. You know what I mean?
Right.
But you're
Yeah.
out there knowing that there is something out there that is huge. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what I think got me, that really started scaring me, that was scary to think about, and not to say that they're scary. I mean, I'm not saying that they can't, that they can't be, but I think, I'm not scared of bears. Like, yeah, they can attack you, and there's things out there. Like, I'm not really scared of animals, but I guess for me, it's the thought of something being that intelligent, and after you read everything on them, and uh, it's like there will be no chance if they really wanted to come after you. So the fact that, I guess that's like the scary part, is the fact that you know you're at their mercy in a sense. So I
Right,
mean,
right, right.
and granted, like I've not heard. I mean, you've had people that will tell stories and stuff, but 99% of the time and stuff that I've read and watched and stuff, they're not really aggressive as far as really trying to hurt you or anything. They might try to like scare you out of an area, but it's the fact that they're what they are, and as smart as they are. Like, if they wanted to, there's nothing you could do. And I guess
Yeah,
that's
I
really the scary part.
I've made the same point that when and now that we'll get to it, but dealing with the
Right.
BFRO, and we had this conversation that if you go and just pull randomly 1,000 reports from the BFRO and read
Hmm.
those reports, how many out of 1,000 are an aggressive behavior? Very
Yeah.
little, very
Right.
very little,
Very little.
and 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 I agree with you. It's not that they can't, because absolutely they can be if they wanted to, but
Right.
they're not. In general, they're just not
Right.
an aggressive,
Right.
attacking you type animal. I think in the end, I think sometimes I think maybe we're just an annoyance. They see us,
Right. Yeah.
they hear
Yeah.
us, and they want to check us out. They're a little curious on what are these guys doing? What are they doing over here? But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
really, in the end, I don't think they really care about us. I think they're more. I think they've got bigger things to deal with, like survival and staying hidden and
Right.
maintaining their lives. Um,
And
but
really,
like I said, I've always said that they're not aggressive.
no, and the only stories that I've heard of or read about that they've been aggressive is, people that have shot at them or something, like the guy at, what is it, Ape Canyon, when they attacked the cabin or whatever. But like, uh, and also,
Well,
uh,
even on that case, when you talk about Ape Canyon, there was multiple Sasquatch, multiple,
right,
and
right,
they could have tore that
yeah,
fragile cabin down and didn't. Now they threw rocks and they say boulders, but I think it's more
right,
larger rocks and stuff like that. But I think it was more
yeah,
like get out of
And I
here,
don't
go, leave, blah
right,
blah blah.
and I don't think
But
they done
I
that
think
to
those
it.
men in that yeah, I think
Right,
they could have killed those guys if they wanted to.
right, and I think it was after they had shot at them that they came back and said, "Oh, okay," like, uh, yeah, I don't think that there's, I just don't think they're aggressive. I think that, you know, I think they know what hunters are, and I think they know what humans are capable of, and I think that they're smart enough to know that if something was to happen, that they would, probably be targeted. And but when it comes down to it, and they're the slickest thing out there. So it's like, if they wanted to take you out, there'd be no chance. So it's I think that right there in itself tells you everything about them, that they're not really wanting to harm you. I think they're interested in you. And I think that uh, but I think they know, they're smart enough to know to keep their distance. Like, because human
Right.
nature is shoot, and I think that's what they probably seen that 1,000 times. Hunters out shooting at stuff and stuff, and they know what guns are, and I think that they know enough to keep their distance. But uh, yeah, like you said, 1,000 reports. The most aggressive you're going to get is them throwing a rock at somebody, and they're not even trying to hit you. They're trying to get you out of the way. You know.
R- right. Yeah, and I think sometimes like the rock thing, because I've had it happen to me a couple of times where something got thrown, and each time my back was turned. It came from
Right.
behind me. So sometimes I think maybe they're like, "Hey, turn around, pay attention." You know what I mean? Or they just want to get my
Right.
attention. I
Right.
might be entertainment for them for the time being.
Yeah. The times that I've had rocks thrown at me, it's usually 10 to 15 feet to my left or 10 to 15 feet to my right. Like, but you can tell they're not trying to hit you. They're just, it's either they're trying to annoy you to get you out of there. Or something like that. I think if they wanted to hit you, because the times that I've had the rocks thrown at me, it's pretty consistent in the same spot. Like, if they threw 10, or if they threw 4 times to my left, it's hitting around the same spot each time, and then they might switch to the right and hit. But you can tell that it's never been that close
Right.
to really hit you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you would think with the strength and the power that they have, and they
Yeah,
threw it like a pitcher. I think they could
yeah,
take your head off if they wanted to.
yeah, yeah.
Because like I said, most of the time, it's like the time it happened to me, it was off to my right, but
Hmm.
I could actually hear it,
Yeah,
break branches and fly by me, and I heard the thump beside me,
right,
and I couldn't figure out what it was thrown. I looked around, I couldn't figure out what was thrown because there was a lot of debris on the ground, but it wasn't at me. It didn't aim at me. You know what I mean?
right,
Because I'm standing behind my truck, and a truck is a large vehicle. I think he could
right.
have hit the truck if he wanted to, but he didn't.
Well, that was me the first time that, or well, wasn't the first time, second time that they had thrown rocks. I was in my vehicle, and it was coming by. When I seen it, it was coming from a pretty good distance, but like they could have hit my vehicle. But they wasn't trying to. Like, it would hit a good 10 foot to my driver's side and skip. Like, once it hit, like, it bounced, and then it would hit, 10 feet from the passenger side, and they continued to do that until I left. And
Right.
but never once did they get any closer than what they were. Like, they didn't try to hit my vehicle, but
Right.
they was just consistent enough to aggravate you.
Right. So, how many total expeditions you been on with the BFRO?
In the last, I started doing, I think I went on my first BFRO in 2023. So in the last 2 years, I've probably been on 7 or 8 BFRO ones. I've been on 2 KBRO ones. And then I've been out to British Columbia, and I've been out to Northern California. And then, I've done a few of my, just going out with my own self and some of my friends. But as far as the BFRO, I have one next month, and then that will probably, I think, will be my 8th one in 2 years. Yeah. Which, like I could
now,
probably go more, but I've stuck with the same group. So like in the groups that I've been going with, I've kept it to a couple states, but I'm looking to explore some different states and different places coming up.
so moving forward, because this is a short window that you've delved into this and you've accomplished
Yeah.
a lot. I mean, that's a lot of expeditions. I used to. This year has been a total wash, but in the years past, I always kind of patted myself on the back on the amount of time I spent in the woods, and you've taken it to a totally different level where you're not just going in the woods in the state of Florida, but you're traveling to all these other states. You're experiencing what these other states are experiencing, and
Right.
and I think that's fascinating. So at one point now, you've now become a member of the BFRO as an investigator.
Right. Right. Yeah. And uh, yeah, I was super happy to get that and be able to get access to flats. And, like that right there for me has opened up. I think for me personally, I was looking at it earlier. I wrote it down, and this year alone, I've done South Carolina, Tennessee, Florida, Tennessee, Kentucky, British Columbia, California, Kentucky, South Carolina, and Florida, and uh, and that's just been this year, and it's been a lot of traveling, and my wife puts up with it, which I've been thankful for. But I think that the people who have uh, that I've been in contact with know, and I've explained it to them that I'm head first in this, and I'm super into it. But I think now that they've sponsored me, as far like Lori is the one who sponsored me to become an investigator, and uh, I'm very thankful for that. But what I'm super excited about, just with becoming an investigator, is now I can get on flats and look at all these other reports that haven't been, that are open. Because with the BFRO, like if you get on the website, there might be 6,000 reports, but there's 80,000 that's still open. And there's not a lot. I mean, I'm not really sure how many investigators they are, but I don't know how many Florida. I know of 2 in Florida, but they're up in northern Florida. I'm sure there's more, but there's so many open cases, uh, especially here in Florida, that it was kind of mind blowing when I actually was able to get on there and see it. And just in the time that I've only been an investigator, just like maybe a month, but the time that I've been an investigator already, I've already spoke to 3 or 4 people and got plans to go and check out these spots, and that's really what I wanted to do, just because one, I want to learn more about Florida, uh, because I do travel a lot, and it would be nice to be able to just travel here in the state and check out some of these places. But I'm interested in people's stories, because to me that's a huge part of the evidence. I think that we have the evidence that we need to prove it, but you know you can't tell me that all the reports that people are putting out there, if one of them's true, then it's true. And I love
Right.
hearing people's stories, and I want to be able to be part of that person who gets to go out there and talk to these people and have them show me where they had something happen and let me go out there and spend some days in the woods and check the place out and just learn what I can, because it's been such a fascinating learning experience for me. I, honestly, I've been addicted to it. Really, it's been very addictive, and
Yeah. Well, it's definitely a rabbit hole that we've all fallen into, and
right,
it's hard to let go. I mean, there's
it really
times,
is.
like I've said, I'll lay in bed on a Saturday morning, and I've worked hard all week, and I'm like, man, it'd be really nice instead of being up at 4 o'clock every morning, I can sleep in and relax a little bit. But I'll lay there and I'll go, no, man, I got to get in the woods because I know this thing is there. I've got to go
Yeah,
find this thing, and it just draws me back out into the woods and stuff like that. So it's definitely a and it's an expensive hobby. So
yeah, it really is. Like the amount of stuff that I've bought as far as like equipment, uh, uh, that traveling. Like I said, just going to Kentucky this past cut that out. Just going to Kentucky this past week. It's 1,100 miles one way. And and that's it's I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it and wasn't into it. And
yeah,
but you get to see a lot of cool places, and I've learned. It's brought me to really start paying attention to places in America, and there's so many places. I know everybody wants to go to the Northwest, and I did do that, and there's still places out there that I want to go to, but there's so many places on the East Coast that is it's I guess it's just brought me to appreciate how America, how I guess how much unexplored places there are in America, and it makes me want to get out there and explore it and experience it, and knowing that there's something there that's been hiding in plain sight, and it's kind of a thrill, really. It's like the ultimate hunt.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Let's get into something that's a little more controversy, and we've spoke about this,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you make you yeah because um, you know where we'll get into it. You talked about going to British Columbia. So with
right.
those that are listening, when he talks about going to British Columbia, he actually took that step and paid the money or whatever and went to spend time with Todd Standing. And
Yep.
we know the controversy around Todd Standing. He's got a big following, but then he's got a lot of people that don't like him, and and stuff like that. Let's not so much talking about Todd Standing's evidence. Let's
Right.
talk about Todd Standing, the person. You got an opportunity to spend time with him, camp out with him, get to know him. Tell us about your dealings with Todd Standing, and where do you feel Todd Standing's at?
Okay. Yeah. Well, the reason I wanted to get into, for me, Todd is kind of what Todd is for me is what a lot of people's Patterson Gimlin is. Like for people that got to see the Patty site or got to see the Patty footage, and that's what got them into uh, the Sasquatch world. I seen the Todd footage before I seen the Patty footage, and so
Right.
when I seen the Patty or the Todd's footage, and again, we all know, those of us that are into it, that he takes a lot of flack uh, for those videos and stuff, and I think a lot of people take him, uh, and not to say that they're wrong with how they see him, as far like he can come off as controversial, but my experience with him has been great. Uh, when I first seen the footage, I started researching his stuff, and ultimately, I was really into it, and then I started seeing all the stuff that people was posting about him, being like, "Oh, he's fake. He faked all this stuff. He's, you know." Uh, but I've yet to see someone show me how he faked it. And I've yet to see, I know people say, well, it's fake and stuff like that, but I've yet to see people really come up with good explanations or really be able to mimic what he done and make it look like what he done. And uh, now, when I reached out to him, I went to I reached out to him on one of his. He does like a weekly thing where he gets on there and talks. And
Right.
like I said earlier, I reached out to you. I sent you emails and stuff. I have no shame in asking people if I can come out. And Todd's not the only person that I've asked. There's a lot of people that I've reached out to, but he was one of the ones that got back to me and said, "Yeah, hey." And he called. And what I will say about Todd, when he called, it wasn't about money. It wasn't about. He called and talked to me for an hour, just asking about my family and asking about just life. And every time he does call, he called probably a week or two ago, and when he does call, it's not anything other than, hey, how's life? How you been? And we talk about family and talk about his kids. And so when he done that, I think I seen a different side of what everybody was explaining and saying about him. And uh, when we talked about pricing and things like that and coming out there, like, I can tell you this, uh, I don't think he's in it for the money. I don't think that once you get up there and see, how he lives and see what type of person he is, he's a family person. He lives in Calgary with his two kids, and his place is out in British Columbia. But he was he's just a down to earth type of person. And so when we got out there, like, he's busy. I give him that. And when he's at home, he's in go mode all the time. But you could see a different side of him when we started headed to British Columbia. Like, he's kind of like, I guess you would say like a survivalist, but he's kind of like a mountain man type person. Like, he was getting happy, his demeanor changed, his personality changed. He was just really excited to get out there, and he keeps up with his stuff. Uh, he don't really have a whole lot, as far as, he's got 3 campers out there, and he's he took care of us the whole time we was there. He stayed with us the whole time we was there. Uh, but as far as what he showed me when we first got around him and first started doing all this stuff, was he was more interested in your story and kind of what got you involved in it. Kind of like, like, I don't know. I guess just everything you hear about him and stuff was totally different. And
Right.
so, we got out there, and I think, we asked him. It was me and this other guy that was from California. He was a Marine, and we asked him tough stuff. And if we seen a tree break and stuff, like, if he said, hey, you know, that I don't think that could be made by a human. We pulled the tree down and broke it. And so, like, he's down for disproving stuff, but there's just things out there that, I mean, they're there. And I think, you know, when he first started getting ridiculed for a lot of this stuff, he told us that, you know, a lot of the stuff that the portraits and pictures and videos and stuff that you see actually going around that's supposed to be his ain't really the original one. You know, people have took that picture of Jake or Jane and photoshopped it a certain way and put it out there. And but my experience with him was great. You know, the first night we got into camp, me and the guy from California, he was a Marine. We stayed in one camper, and then Todd and this other guy from Texas, he was part Apache, I think, and I think he was part Mexican and part Apache, and he's from Texas. They stayed in another camper, and then the third camper is a that's where, you know, the food and whatnot is. So like we use that for breakfast and, you know, dinner and stuff like that. But he's got cameras and stuff around his property. So the first night we got there, I think it was a 3-hour drive to get there. But when we got there and got set up that night, I heard footsteps running past the camper, and I kind of laughed because I was like, you know, one, I was excited to get there, and I've always heard that his place is really, you know, especially around his camper, is really active. And when we first got to his house, there was a guy from Scotland that had been living with him for maybe like a month, but exploring and stuff with him. And he had showed me videos and stuff of howls and knocks and stuff that had been going on around his place. So like I was kind of excited to get out there. And so the very first night that we get there, you know, it was almost like, it wasn't super thud, like, but it sounded like maybe like a juvenile or something running real fast by the camper. And then maybe 2 or 3 minutes would go by, and then you would hear it run back by again. And then, you know, so on and so forth. And obviously, like, you know, like we're still kind of sketchy, you know, thinking, was he got, you know, is he messing with us or something like that? So, you know, we made sure that we asked the other guy that was from Texas, hey, did Todd come out at any time and go out? Was he roaming around or anything like that? And he's like, no, he never went out or nothing like that. So the second night, nothing happened. But then we went to, we went up to, we was going to go to where he done the footage of Jake and Jane out in Radium. And so when we hiked 8,000 feet up a mountain, and we stayed up on the mountain.
That's a hell of a hike.
It was, hey, he's hardcore. I give him that. It was. I mean, we hiked for hours. It was pretty rough, man. Like, I think we didn't go the full distance because the guy from Texas, he was having a pretty rough time, and so he kind of, you know, Todd's got to keep his, you know, the people there safe, so he kind of cut it short. But we went up, we hiked up to the very top of this mountain and spent the night, and nothing ever happened on the hike, or, you know, we seen a lot of tree breaks and stuff like that, but we never had any activity or anything like that. And the next day we hiked down and went back, and that night, what I didn't tell nobody though, so the day we left to go up to the hike, I didn't tell Todd. I didn't tell nobody. I set out audio recorders, and I didn't want to tell nobody because, obviously, if you tell somebody,
Right.
or especially tell Todd, if somebody is going to do something, you just don't want nobody to mess with anything. So I didn't tell nobody. So right where my camper that I was staying in was, I talked to Brian Sharp before I went because I was told that
Right. He did the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah, he had done the same opportunity and went up there to find out for himself, type thing.
right. And so when I was at the Ocala Bigfoot Festival, somebody told me that he had went, so they brought me over to him and talked to him, and he was kind of mentioning like, hey, uh, there's no blinds on one of the campers, so like don't be surprised if one is like peeking through at you at night. And I was like, oh dude, I don't know if I want to see that. And so like I was kind of like nervous a little bit because like, that's the last thing I want to wake up and see some big old head just peeking in at me. And so the night that we got back, I grabbed my audio, and I was wore out, and I was laying there in bed listening to it. And as I was listening to it, I heard bipedal, real loud thumps outside, almost in the same spot that I'd heard the first night that we got there. But it was a lot louder and a lot different on this one. This one sounded like something way heavier, and to the point where I was nervous enough to get up and make sure the door was completely locked, like that would do anything. But it made me feel
Yeah,
better.
like I said, I always felt safe in a tent, and I don't know why.
Right, right, yeah. I'm sitting there thinking like, oh, this little lock's gonna do it. But as I was sitting there listening to the audio, within maybe 10, 15 minutes after we left, you hear, like almost like something's coming up and doing, just tapping on the camper. And it's tapping, 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 tapping. And it's getting pretty intense. And then you hear a, ugh, and then you hear that. And then maybe 2 or 3 minutes goes by, then you hear, ugh, and you continue to hear the tapping, and then eventually it goes silent, and it's over. And so I showed Todd the next day, and one, he was happy that I didn't tell him, but as soon as he heard the like you could watch him, he got like goosebumps all over, and he was like, oh my gosh, that's them, they're here. So he was all excited and whatnot. But that very next day, we were sitting. Usually, we would come out in the morning and eat some oatmeal and whatever, and we'd start a fire. And
That's what he feeds you. He feeds you porridge.
yeah. He he's got a lot of oatmeal. uh, but so we were sitting out by the fire, and I was pretty sore, and I'm sitting there, and the thing that kind of ruined the trip, I think, too, was my bag got delayed, so like my bag was like 3 days late, so I didn't have my thermals, I didn't have any of my stuff when we left, and which again, Todd was nice enough to even say, hey, when it came in, he gave me his truck and let me drive his truck all the way back to Calgary and pick up my stuff. Like he didn't think twice about it.
Wow.
But yeah, he was a great guy as far as, my experience with him. Again, I know people's, but I went out there and stayed with him, and I will tell you that he's the type of person that he would give you the shirt off of his back. and he's been nothing but good with me. But the day that we got back, you can take him outside. The day that we got back, uh, we was sitting around a fire, and my buddy, he went to, I guess he went in to take a nap, and I'm sitting there, and probably about 50 yards or so off, I keep seeing like a bush, and it's shaking pretty violently, and it's the only one. So I'm watching it for probably a good 10 minutes because like I know something's there, but I'm making sure that there's no wind, like nothing else around it is moving. And so I just keep my eyes on it. Even when we're talking, I'm listening to people and stuff, but I'm still focusing on this spot. And but I finally realized that there's nothing else around it moving. It's not the wind that's moving that bush because nothing else is moving around it. And you know, when somebody's walking downhill, how they'll turn kind of sideways and step down, and their feet will be sideways. But that's I seen a dark silhouette kind of come out, and that's where my mind first went to was somebody walking down a hill sideways, and I couldn't make out everything, but as soon as I seen it, I jumped up because I was like super excited, like, oh man, that's it. And I went to grab my binoculars, which I didn't have because my bag wasn't there. So I ran inside because my buddy he had a really nice pair of Vortex binoculars, and when I went inside to grab his, he had his door shut and was sleeping, so I just didn't wake him. And when I came back outside, Todd was like, well, where's the binoculars? And I told him, and he's like, ah, no. He's like, go in there and wake him up. He's like, that's what we're here for. We're here to get evidence, And I was like, all right, yeah, yeah. But by that time, whatever was there was gone. But I did see a dark silhouette that looked like a person, as far as the shape of a person, uh, that looked like something came off a hill behind that bush. And I can't say that it was that, but I did see something. And then there's a guy that I guess works with him that
What was the
has
distance?
at most 50 yards. Yeah, at
Oh wow.
most. Yeah, it wasn't far. It was so if you ever go there, it's like there's a road that comes in and goes down his driveway. So like where we're sitting by his fire, I'm looking at the direction of where you would leave out driving, to leave, but it would be across that going up the hill. And so it wasn't far, but you know, that bush was moving pretty violently for a good 10 minutes. And I kept paying attention to it, but I couldn't figure out what was moving it. And then all of a sudden, like I got a glimpse of what looked like somebody moving behind it. And, when I jumped up to run to get the binoculars, I don't know if what it was actually took off or what, but after I went inside to get the binoculars and came back, everything had stopped. And then I went over
Yeah.
to, I went that way afterwards, and everything, there wasn't nothing there. There wasn't nothing. And so I don't know if what it was took off but the bush wasn't shaking no more. I never found any prints, but it kind of where that was like it wasn't a good spot to get prints at anyway. But not far from there, we found he showed us where a 20-inch print was. It was 20 inches, 20 inches and a quarter, 20 and a quarter inches long and 12 inches wide. And each
Wow.
toe,
That's a big foot.
each toe was about that big. It was crazy.
Wow.
And But there's a guy that I think the guy's name's Luke, but he's got cameras set up um, all around his property now that record 24/7, and they got thermal and stuff. And if you go on uh, his page, like you see, he's got a video of one walking behind trees that kind of resembles exactly what I saw.
Oh,
But
nice.
he's got videos of rocks
So,
being.
and I've always made this comment. I've said it in the past that I'm not a Todd Standing fan. We've
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about it.
yeah,
You know, I don't know him personally. I will say I do not know Todd Standing personally, but I always made this comment that you know when because even though I don't believe in somebody's evidence, that it doesn't mean I don't like the person.
right,
And I
right,
don't know anything about Todd Standing, but
right.
I always said that it would not surprise me if down the road Todd Standing does get the video of all videos because of the amount of time he spends in the woods. Because
Yeah,
and I know, if you're going to better your odds, you have to be out there. You have
yeah.
to be out there. You know what I mean? And
And I
even
do agree.
though he's whatever,
Right.
he's out there all the time.
Yeah. And I agree with you. Like I get where he can come off as controversial, and I get that. And a lot of it, I think, too, is he's took so much flack that he really just don't care what people think anymore. So like he's kind of, uh, I don't know if he's just
Well,
defensive
like I've
all
said,
the time.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'm pretty
and,
sure he is. I mean, because he's
right,
as far as the Bigfoot community, he has been ran through the ringer. There's no doubt
right,
about that. But
yeah, yeah.
the
And
and like I
but
said,
I
it's
do agree with you.
regardless
Like,
if people. Yeah, go ahead.
no, I was just saying I do agree with you. Like he's regardless of what you think of him, he's out there, And I will personally
Yeah,
say that they are around his property, like where he does his research and stuff at. Like I will tell you that they're there. Like I've heard them. I got audio of the one, but not just me. Like people that I know that have went out there and talked to him, and videos that they've shown me. The guy that's working with him out there, that's got the cameras and stuff. Like he's, I can't think of. I have the app that he has. The app is, I think it's called like Bigfoot Live, but yeah, Bigfoot live stream, and but you can go on that, and he has, and what this guy's doing, I think he's going to be somebody who really has some good good stuff, because he's what he's doing is he's going to different people's hotspots that will allow him to, and he's setting up all these cameras that record all the time, and he's gathering quite a bit of stuff. But Todd's out there, man, and that place was so beautiful. It almost, I mean, it kind of almost brought me to tears because it's such a beautiful, rugged place, and there's nobody out there, man. And so, and I think too, what has hurt some of his stuff as far as slowing down is, Canada, you can't carry pistols anymore. And he
right.
lives like literally, there's grizzly bears going through his camp, and they're all around his spot. So, like, when he goes out, he has rifles. And when we went out, uh, there was four of us. There was a guy in front. Todd had a rifle, and the guy in back. Sometimes it was me, and sometimes it was the other guy. Like you had two rifles when you went out, and I think that any animal that's intelligent, like a Sasquatch, regardless of what your relationship with them, if they see you with rifles, they're not going to come around as much. And
Right.
I think that slowed some of his stuff down. But uh, I mean, he's out there, and not everybody's going and hiking 8 and 10,000 feet. in cowboy
Right.
camping like he does. And so I do think, and plus he's got a thermal drone that he flies around, and you know, I think I think he's got a very good chance of coming up with some stuff. But you know, when you got somebody like Les Stroud that will go out and tell you that Todd's out there and stuff, and regardless of what you think of him, you kind of got to respect what he does. Uh,
Yeah. Well, like I
and
said, yeah. I mean, there's been conversations. I've seen
yeah,
interviews, especially with Les Stroud, Dr. Meldrum, different people, and they all agree there's some really great anecdotal evidence out there with prints and different things and some structures. Um, but I think what they get upset, and especially the late Dr. Meldrum, was that he likes to name throw. You know what I mean? And and talk about, well, I put Dr. Meldrum on a Bigfoot and he saw a
right,
Bigfoot, but Dr. Meldrum will tell you I didn't see a Bigfoot. You know what I mean? So
right,
I think
yeah,
sometimes he's his own worst enemy. But like I
no,
said, he's out there.
yeah,
He's doing it. You know?
yeah, and I agree with you that. And we talked to him. Me and this other guy talked to him about some of that stuff too, because it's like uh, his slogan is, "Hey, if you want to see a Bigfoot, come out with me, and I'll show you a Bigfoot." And it's like
That's a bold statement.
that's a bold statement. Like he's if you watch any of his stuff, he's always saying, "Hey, Joe Rogan, come out here." Like, what if Joe Rogan was to take him up on that and they didn't see one? You know what I mean? Like, then so
Right. It's a
uh,
double-edged sword. Right.
yeah, yeah. And I think he should be respected in the field, but I also can see where people come from. And like I said, uh, some of his stuff that he said, in my personal opinion, like, it's stuff that I don't believe. And some of the stuff and some of his theories that he said, like, that's just his belief. Like,
Right.
uh,
Right.
you'll never make me believe some of the stuff that he said. But I will say that as far as them being there and around his place, they are there. And
Right.
I don't think that. Well, I can tell you that he never once tried to sway us in any direction. He never once tried to trick us. Uh, they was the guy from Texas. He's more into the paranormal stuff. So, like, he really didn't know much about Sasquatch. He would look at stuff and think it was, maybe possibly Bigfoot. And me just being in it the time that I have, like, I knew that it wasn't what he thought it was, but I wanted Todd to be the one to tell him, because and two, I wanted to see what Todd
Right. Right.
said. You know what I mean? Like, I
Right.
wanted Todd to be like I can look at that and
Well, when you
say,
go up
no,
there as an investigator, you're not just investigating the evidence, you're investigating the person.
right, right. And that's the reason I went, because, like, I wanted to see everything with Todd for myself. So, like, when these questions came about, like, yeah, I have my opinion and stuff on it, but I wanted to hear what Todd had to say about it so I could, see for myself. So I let him do a lot of the answering. And I I don't think he tried to persuade us or trick us in any way. I think he was very, and maybe he's different with different people. I don't know, but, like, with me and
Right.
my experience with him, I think he was fine, and I think I'll definitely, I'll definitely be back. I'll definitely go back up there and spend more time with him and stuff. But and he's got some stuff that I, I can't say whether or not it's true or not, but he told us that he does have videos and stuff that he's keeping away until a certain time, and whether it's true or
Right.
not, I don't know. But uh, I do think that he's got a really good chance, you know. But I
Yeah.
also think, you know, that drones are going to play a big role into it too. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, so anybody that's out there with, yeah, honestly, anybody at any time really could have the perfect shot.
Well, yeah, and I agree. I'm always like any. I mean, like I said, most of the sightings that's reported is somebody happen to take a
Right.
walk or a hike or is going fishing or is going to their deer stand or leaving their deer stand. It's all
Hmm.
happenstance.
Yeah. There's.
That's everybody watching the show, that's everybody in the chat room, everybody has an opportunity. But
Yeah.
with that
Yeah.
said, you have to
You
put
got to be
yourself
out
out
there.
there. You have to
Yeah.
go in the woods and just do your regular thing. Do your regular thing. If you're a fisherman, go fishing. If
Yeah.
you're a camper, go camping for the weekend and stuff like that, because that's when these things happen. Now, another thing I wanted to bring up was not only did you go to British Columbia, but you also went to the Mecca of Bluff Creek.
Yeah. Yeah. That was
Tell us
cool,
about
man.
Bluff Creek, because that's like our mecca. That's where everybody wants
Right.
to go to, where everything really hit a peak was the Patterson Gimlin film. And you got an
Yeah.
opportunity. You took the opportunity because, like I tell people, you really put yourself out there. You'll invest the money. You'll take the travel. You'll go to these places because you're trying to find the answers. And you went there. Tell us how
Yeah.
that went. Going to Bluff Creek.
That was a cool experience too. I didn't know much about that area until, I mean, I read books and I kind of wanted to put picture to paper, you know what I mean? So like when I read, I read a lot of stuff from that area, and you know, I got to go when I was out there. I got to meet what's the guy's name from the Rowdy something. He's from the Bluff Creek Project, and then Ron Lederman, I think is his name. Just by happenstance, really, because like we didn't wasn't really planned. Uh, I was actually supposed to go out there to meet Tom Cantrell and do the camp out with him, and he had took ill, so apparently it was canceled, and I didn't know. So I still went because I already, you know, I was like, well, you know, I'd already planned it, so I basically was up there by myself. So my buddy that went with me to Todd's, well, that I met when we went to Todd's, I knew he lived in Sacramento, so I kind of called him and was just like, hey, and really how it ended up working was I was like, hey, you know, I'm gonna be flying into Sacramento, you know, at some point during the trip, I'll reach out and we can either eat dinner or something. And he was just like, well, you know, I could take off this week and we could go up there together because he's kind of getting into it too. And I was like, yeah, sure. You know, so we kind of linked up and honestly, like it worked out perfect because if not, I would have been up there in the middle of nowhere by myself for 8 days. And
Right,
so
right.
yeah, you know, so it kind of worked out perfect. The place that we went, uh, when you go up to Orleans and get on the Go Road, you know, the Go Road goes like 30 miles out in the middle of nowhere, and then the road just ends. And where Tom had his camp set up, where he was supposed to have his camp, was at the end of Go Road. So you drive, once you get on Go Road, you drive to the very end of it, and then there's like a little side trail that takes you down in this little valley, and beautiful little camping spot. Uh, but again, you know, I was out there by myself, and I think we went like 40, 50 miles and never seen a person, never passed a car.
Wow.
Uh, you know, so it was very, very remote. And, you know, you see bears and stuff. And we ended up driving back down, you know, when you drive through Hoopa and Willow Creek was a really cool town. Uh, the guy, his name's Eric, he works at the Willow Creek Museum. he was kind of like the hidden gem for us because since Tom and nobody showed up, we were supposed to do a night expedition down into Bluff Creek where the patty site was. So like now that nobody was showing up, like I didn't know how to get there, and where we was camping, I didn't realize how close we was to the patty site. And so and there's no service, there's nothing. So like, we drove down to Willow Creek and ran into Eric, and he showed us absolutely everything. Just so happens the people from the Bluff Creek Project was there at the museum that day, and we ran into Ron Letterman and Rowdy. I can't remember Rowdy's last name, but they went in, and I learned a lot. They're the ones who went in and basically reconstructed the whole Patterson Gimlin site, and uh, pretty much they got everything marked down from like the trees and stuff that was and the place looks totally different than what it obviously did back in the day, but it's
Right.
they got it set up to where they basically have it pretty much narrowed in to where he was set up when he was recording. They got it marked where the famous turnaround, that Patty did. They got it marked where they believe that she did that, and they got her trail basically set up to where, she basically vanished into the woods at, and, hiking down through there, I can see, you can see why they would be there. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
and
Right.
when you hear, and what was unique for me is, like some of the people that was there in Willow Creek, here's this whole place that's contributed to Bigfoot. And then you ask some of the locals, like, hey, do you believe in Bigfoot? And they're like, some of them do, some of them don't. And some of them have their stories and stuff. But it was like, in my eyes, like here I am, just flew all the way across the country to see this place. And you got people who live there that don't even think twice about it, and but that was kind of like that was nothing happened. We didn't have no. Never. The only thing that I have on audio was one of the nights that we was there. It was a clear night, and it sounded like thunder had. I don't know if it was thunder or if one of those big redwood trees had just came down crashing. Uh, but other than that, like we never had anything happen. But it was just such a cool experience to go and see the Patty site. Uh,
Well, that's what I
experience.
said. It's like it's the mecca. It's
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
even myself. It's on my bucket list. One day I would like to go to Bluff Creek and just,
Well,
even if it's for the day, I would just
yeah.
like
Yeah.
to hike it and walk around and look at it.
It's such a cool little it's such a cool little area. And what was cool was, like when we got down through there, they have a little jar that they had hanging from a tree, like that, somebody had put like a notebook in, and you can sign your name and whatnot. And so the next spot that was available where I signed my name, like the name above was Cliff Barrickman, and I was like,
Oh, nice.
because he's somebody that I respect and would love to meet and go up to where he's at and stuff like that. But like it just shows you like it's kind of became such a iconic place where people like, do I think that they're still there? They may come through, but I think it's became such an area now that uh, probably gets so much attention that they probably back off some.
Yeah.
But just to be able to go through there and camp in that area and see that place, like I can see why they're there. And when you read some of the stories from that area and stuff, like it's very remote, man. Like, and then the temperature is so crazy out there that like where we was at was really hot. Like, and me being from South Florida now, like I was fine with it, but you can be in 100-degree weather and then drive 30 minutes and it's like 40 or 50-degree different, and it made me start
Wow.
realizing like, man, like they could probably cross this ridge, go over here and cool off and then cross back over, and then you know what I mean, like just weather wise, and
Right.
you're not going to run across nobody because where the go road
Right.
ends, there's no way for anybody other than to walk to get out through there. So, they can pretty
Right.
much do whatever they want. And it's as crazy as it sounds, a lot of the locals up there don't really go out there like that. It's more people like me and you that decide to go out there and
Right.
experience. So, the people that live there, they're not really out in the woods like that.
Yeah. And that's one of the things. That's why me and you've spoken a few times, and well, I mean literally one night we spoke for almost 5 hours,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
you know, and because we see things the same way. We're both logical guys.
yep,
We're looking at
yep,
logical stuff. We don't get into the paranormal, the supernatural, or anything. We try to look at things
yeah,
logically,
yep,
and I hope you continue in that path. But
yeah, yeah,
it's what I made when I talk to people, and then they're like, "Well, I've never heard of Frank Middleton." Dude,
right, yeah,
it's it has nothing to do. A lot of times, it has nothing to do with the encounter itself. It's about,
right,
this is a guy that is investing the time, investing the money, and going to these places and experiencing what he can, because I know that's your ultimate goal. Is I'm going to keep doing this until you have
yeah,
your face to face class A sighting and
yep,
stuff like that, and
yeah,
and I think getting in, and like you said, I think getting in with the BFRO is going to open up some doors for you to get into properties that usually most people
yeah,
can't get into, and talking to
yeah.
people that most people don't know, and
Hmm.
stuff like that. And I think that's fascinating. And I think that's why I wanted you on the show. I said, dude, I want to talk about you and your experiences and your journey, in this Bigfoot arena, because I've traveled. I've gone to Georgia. I went to see Johnny, and we went up there. I've traveled throughout the state. There's no doubt about that.
Right.
I've gone to Ohio. You know what I mean? I've been to North Carolina, because
Hmm.
I think the Uwharrie National Forest up there, that is a really good area, and I've had some experiences up there that would make me want to go back. I would definitely go
Right.
back to Uwharrie National Forest. I
Yeah.
think it's a hidden gem. I know it's popular for a lot of people, but I think it's still a hidden gem.
I
You
do
know,
too. Yeah.
and
I was gonna say that's been a place on my radar here recently. Just the stuff that I've been watching and reading on. That's a place that's got my attention here recently. It's funny that you just said that name because like that's literally a spot that I have been looking into going to just because
it's
of the stuff that I've been
I've
reading on.
I've had some yeah I've had some experiences up there that's warranted me to want to go back,
Right.
and I can't tell you exactly where I was at because other people
Yeah.
took
Yeah.
me there, but
Hmm.
what I do remember, there was this, we went into, we had to go to a store, we had to pick up some supplies, and it was a small little store out in the middle of nowhere. There was no city, there was no town, it was just this store. And
Right.
I know we weren't far from it. I think within 30 minutes we could be in the store. 30 minutes later we'd be back at the campsite up in the foothills of these mountains. And
Right.
what amazed me was that they had a glass case with an albino buck stuffed in this glass case, and that was the first time I'd ever seen an albino buck. So I thought that was cool. But
And
that
I'll buy
one little store,
buck.
deer, yeah,
Yeah.
buck,
Yeah. Oh, right. Yeah. Got you.
and it was just a cow horn. It was just a cow horn, but it was a buck.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
so, anyways, what surprised me the most was this little store, just little country convenience store,
Hmm.
that they processed just that one deer season. Almost 1,000 deer were processed just in that one store because
Right.
they were a
Right.
meat processing in the back. So I was
Right.
really impressed me and stuff like that. But I saw some interesting things. I would definitely go back to Uwharrie. That might be something me and you might have to plan down in the future
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it,
For sure,
it's a heck
dude.
of a drive to get up there, but it is beautiful, beautiful
Yeah.
area.
Well, the time that I was
And
going to go, it wasn't going to be in Uwharrie, but I was going to go to Asheville. They was a set. They was a few of us going to get together and go up there. And the time that we was going to go was the time that hurricane had went through there, and that
right,
was that I was kind of bummed out because like they was people that had uh, had thermals that one of the guys that I know that's up in Jacksonville, he he's got some thermal of one almost like a spider crawl that's fixing to go under a truck up there, and so that kind of wanted that's what got me into that, and it ended up getting the very week that we was set to go, it got hit by the hurricane and all messed up, but uh, definitely in the last 3 weeks, Uwari has hit my radar, and that's I'd
I
definitely
would.
be down to go there.
The only downfall when we went. It was winter. It was freezing cold. I don't think it got over 13 degrees the whole time we were there.
Right,
And of course, I come from a search and rescue background with the Navy, so I
right,
understood how to, sleep and be comfortable and not not get cold at
right,
night when I'm sleeping. Is because we're primitive camping,
right.
so I was good with that. Um, but it was just so freaking cold. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm like anything out here is gonna hunker down somewhere, and
right,
if Bigfoot hibernates, this was the time to
right.
do it because it was freezing cold.
And I think,
But I want to
and I
address
think,
something because somebody brought this up in the chat room. I just want to address
mhm,
this, because they, again, the BFRO, gets slack just like Todd
yeah, yeah,
Standing does.
yeah,
I want to make something clear about the BFRO. Okay, um, here's the thing: is there are a lot of researchers or
mm,
investigators that are under the BFRO, and they're
mhm,
really good people.
yeah,
They're good investigators. They're
yeah,
good interviewers. They're talking to people. They're getting evidence, and they're actually going out to people that actually say they had a sighting. So,
yeah,
but I think the problem is when people downplay the BFRO is because they think Matt Moneymaker. They think
right,
Matt Moneymaker is the guy that's going to all these places and he's doing all this
right,
stuff. Matt
right,
Moneymaker he may be the founder of the BFRO, but he's a very small percentage of what is actually going on with the BFRO.
right,
And I'll give you a prime example. Icebox that was on here, and I don't know if he's still here or not. He did some time with the BFRO, and he has great things to say about the BFRO. Um, David Sidoti, he's out of Lakeland.
mhm,
Fantastic human being. David Sidoti was one of the best guys I've ever met. I'll never ever say a bad thing about him. He used to
right,
do stuff with to be a researcher with BFRO. So there are some
right,
great investigators out there that are doing this. They're very
yeah,
level headed. They're very
right,
focused on actual forensic evidence.
mhm.
Um, so
I've met a
the
lot.
the
Yeah,
yeah, the
I've met
TV
a
show, the
right,
benefit of the TV show was the fact that it brought awareness to Bigfoot.
right, right,
Okay, it brought it into the mainstream. That's the
right,
one benefit the show had. Did they
right,
ever prove Bigfoot? Did they ever find? No.
right,
But anybody I've spoken to that were either on the show, and I have spoken to some people that were on the show, and
mhm,
they were very very strict about how they were going to handle the investigations, what they were going to
right,
do without quote Hollywood stepping in and making a
right,
mockery of it. See what I'm
right,
saying? So I
yeah,
got to give Matt Moneymaker that credit that he brought it into the mainstream. Matt
right,
Moneymaker comes across as very narcissistic. It's all
yeah,
about me, and I
yeah,
get that. There are people
right,
like that. See what I'm saying?
yeah,
But
yeah,
in the overall, I recommend people all the time. if you've had a sighting, if you've had an encounter, either get it documented with the BFRO or get
Mm-hmm.
it documented on the Bigfoot Mapping Project. These
Right.
are avenues that open it up to investigators to look at this information and are
Yep.
able to investigate those sightings. See what I'm saying?
Right.
So there's nothing
Yep.
wrong because BFRO has an amazing
Well,
database.
I think
And that's what
right. Yeah.
they have
Well,
created an amazing
yeah,
database. It
their database is really mind blowing. You take the guy that I was just out with, like Charlie Raymond. He's a BFR investigator too, but like he does most of his stuff in his own state, and in Kentucky, he goes around and I mean he's interviewed. I think he says over 700 people and went out and investigated these places and stuff, and you can go on there and see all the stuff that's in that state alone. But when it comes to the BFRO, it's mind blowing the the reports that are actually on there
they have
that
a ton of information.
insane. And but it for me it also encourages me to be able to be one of those people to get out there and help add to it. And I think honestly, as many investigators that are probably with the BFRO, there's still not enough that's able to really
Right.
get in there
Well,
and
yeah, and
do it.
like me personally,
Hmm.
I look at the TV show. It was entertainment. If it came
Yeah, yeah,
on, yeah, I'd watch it because I love anything dealing with Bigfoot. I read a lot
right,
of books. I watch a lot of videos. I have a Facebook page. I have a research channel. I have the podcast. I'm really into Bigfoot, so
right.
I'll watch the show. Now I take it as entertainment purposes. That's what I
Yeah,
take
yeah,
it as.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
but like I said, the biggest positive was it brought it into the mainstream, and that was
Right,
very important because
right,
now people are reporting sightings because
right,
they're paying attention and they're
right.
getting out in the woods and they're doing these things. You know what I mean?
I
So
I actually
yeah,
think
granted, the show was on a scale of 1 through 10. The show was a 3, okay, at
right,
best,
right.
but it was entertaining. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? There's definitely worse. There
Right.
there's definitely worse
But
shows. What's that one? Somebody in the chat room, tell me the name of the show where it's those group of guys, those hillbillies that go out looking for Bigfoot,
uh,
and the one
not
guy's
sure.
really heavy set and all that. But that is worse. That is the worst show I've ever seen. I won't
Yeah,
even give it 2 minutes of my time.
I've
But
never. I know what you're
again, these
talking about.
shows,
I've never. Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I've
yeah,
never
but
watched
they're entertainment.
Mountain Monsters or something like that. Yeah, right. But the thing is, you know, you look at the show of like finding Bigfoot, and now you got like
Mountain
expedition
Monsters. Icebox
Mount.
came out with it. Mountain Monsters. That
But
show's a joke.
I've watched about 5 minutes of it, and I turned it off. But then somebody told me, they said, well, they're doing that on purpose, and I was like, all right, I get it. But I think I think the Bigfoot world is coming to a spot now where people ain't. And don't get me wrong, I get what people are saying, because like a lot of my friends that I grew up with, they think I'm crazy for this. They think I'm goofy for,
Oh yeah.
and
Well,
which is
it's
whatever.
really
I don't.
funny too because when you yeah, because it's
Yeah, I
really
don't.
funny because you can have a conversation with somebody for 3 hours, and they'll
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
"Hey, I like Frank. He's a really good guy. He's
yeah.
intelligent. He's good. He's blah blah blah." But as soon
Right,
as you say the word Bigfoot, oh, he's crazy.
right,
I wasn't
right.
crazy 3 hours ago.
Oh, dude.
You
Well,
know what
that's
I
the
mean?
thing. I've had friends that I grew up with my whole life, and now that they know that I'm into this stuff, they're like, and I'm like, well, it is what it is. But, you know, but I
Yeah.
think it's becoming such a thing now that people don't feel as bad for telling their stories. Like, I don't think they get as ridiculed as much. I mean, there is ridicule, and I get that. But the thing
Oh
is,
yeah.
I
It's not
think,
as bad as it was 20 years ago.
right, right. But I also believe that if these people would be open enough to say, all right, if you don't believe it, that's fine, but spend a week researching it, and then come back and tell me that you don't believe it. You know what I mean? Like, spend some time really researching it, because I was the same way. I didn't always believe in this stuff.
Right.
Until I started doing my own research. And then once I started doing my own research, once I got that to that curve where I thought this could possibly be real, and then started exploring it, I've dove in head first, and you can't, you will never make me not believe it. Like,
Oh yeah.
there's too much stuff. And
Oh yeah. I mean, I had an encounter. Yeah, I had an
mhm,
encounter 20 years ago, and it's completely changed my life. It's
yeah, yeah,
completely changed it. And I've been back to that area. I haven't been back to the location yet, which maybe me and you could do that one day.
yeah,
I would really like to go back and find a location I had my encounter. I really would. And
yeah.
but I've been to the same area
Mhm.
and have had encounters, at that location. So like I said, it's an addictive drug. It really is.
It,
I mean, you
it
get out
really
there,
is,
but
man. Like,
again, it is.
but it's also
It's an
peaceful.
expensive drug. I mean, I've got gear in a bin right here by my bed that I'm like, oh my god, if I ever got out of this and I said, hey, anybody's in Bigfoot, I'll sell you all my stuff. I got a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah.
money invested here. You know what I mean?
Me too. Yeah.
And
And just in a
but I
small
don't think
period of
people.
time, I've accumulated stuff that I would have never thought I would have ever got into. And I think,
Yep.
but being out in the woods has always been, especially where I grew up, you know, uh, it was nothing but mountains. We got our water from a stream that came off the mountain. Like, the mountains have always been like a spiritual place for me. So, like, ah, just being out in the woods is such a thing mentally for me. Uh, it really
Absolutely,
helps.
because
Yeah. So this just gives
I've
me
said
an
that same
extra.
thing where. Yeah, because you're a lot like me, and we've had long conversations
Hmm.
where I love the woods so much that if I go out there, and people can go to my channel and watch my videos,
Hmm.
there's a lot of times I go out there, I spend 4, 5, 6 hours in the woods. They get to see
Yeah.
about 30 minutes of video, 45 minutes at best, and
Right.
the, but it's a win-win for me. It's a
Right.
win-win because I got to do what I enjoy doing. I was where I needed to be to
Right.
get my mind right, to recharge my batteries, and
Hmm.
enjoy nature. And a lot of
Yep.
people don't realize that and I come from a deer hunting background. Now I quit deer
Mhm.
hunting 20 years ago, but um, it's we're the stewards of the woods. Hunters
Right.
and people that are avid outdoorsmen are actually very good stewards of the woods. A lot of
Yep.
people don't see the behind the things where there's many times I'm out there and I'm picking up trash and throwing it in my backpack.
Well, I
You
was
know what I
fixing to
mean?
say that. Like, it drives me crazy when I get out there and I see, just beer cans and trash, and I'm just like, man, why do people? How hard is it to pick up this and just take it somewhere? Like, and I've done the same thing, and it drives me crazy. Uh, but I was fixing to say that, like, there's many times I've been out there and found a bunch of stuff, and I may not even have nothing to put it in, but I'll carry it somewhere and get it out of the woods, because it's like, why would
Right.
somebody? That's one thing I will say I appreciated about Canada. Uh, Super clean, man. Out in British Columbia, that's one thing I guess kind of makes me sad about down here. Especially down here in Florida, like, you drive by these
Well, it's
canals.
yeah.
It's just
Well,
so
yeah,
nasty.
and you'll understand because you're down here. You'll understand because I've made this comment, and for some reason, this comment tends to piss people off, and I really don't understand why. But they'll ask me, "What is your goal with Bigfoot?" And I have two. One is a 10-second video. That's my goal. I video
Yeah.
all the time. I'm not
Right.
out there taking photographs and zooming in and calling a blob squatch or this and that. I want a video. I want something in motion. I want it moving.
Hmm.
I want to be able to answer questions. But
Yeah.
my second thing is conservation. I'm big on if when we prove this thing in general to everybody, because it's a very small percentage. You're looking at 350
Yeah.
million Americans.
Yeah.
At best 1% believe in Bigfoot. So
Yeah.
once we could prove this thing does exist, I'm not proving it to myself. I'm trying to prove it to other people. I want to conserve. And you're here in Florida, and people get pissed. Oh, why are you going to conserve it? We are losing land rapidly in the state of
It's
Florida.
insane. Insane.
Rapidly.
It is. It's bad. Real
I
bad.
live I live I live in farm country. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
I can drive. I'm in the woods now. Where I live, I'm in the woods. But
Right.
if I'm downtown, no matter what direction I go, within 15 minutes I'm in the woods, or I'm in
Right.
pastures, or I'm in orange groves, or watermelon fields and tomato fields. It's farmland here, and that's the
Right.
side of Florida people don't see. And I see
Right.
these orange groves and all this stuff that are actually being ripped up out of the ground. The trees are being burnt, and
Yeah.
they're building condominiums. See what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah. Just in the
We're
10
losing it.
I've been
We're
here in
losing it.
Homestead.
And if
Yeah.
something isn't done, this creature has no chance.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just in the 10 years that
This
I've been
thing is
here.
going extinct in Florida.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
I'm telling you
Yeah.
right
Yeah.
now, it's going extinct.
Well, I'm glad because a few years ago they was trying to build an interstate right down the middle of the state, and I thought you don't need that. What comes with that? That's really the only country area that we like. If you go up, people don't think about, especially I guess it's kind of like New York. When people think of New York, they think of New York City. They don't think of the mountains that are above it. Well, if you drive an hour west of Miami, you're
Right.
in. It looks like South Georgia, or
Absolutely. I agree.
and that's where they want to build. They want to
Right.
take all that stuff and build, and it's like, why? Like, leave that crap alone. And unfortunately, I don't know how. I
Well,
don't know how.
it's take Lake yeah. You look at Lake Okeechobee, for
Hmm.
example. Now you're down close to the Everglades, and
Hmm.
I'm not too far, within or 2 hours, not to Homestead, but at least the
Right.
Everglades. You go all the way to Lake Okeechobee,
Hmm. Right.
and people don't understand that the Everglades is actually classified as a river, or 5 miles a day, or very slow river, but it's a system that went all the way to Lake Okeechobee. It
Hmm.
doesn't anymore. It doesn't. It doesn't even come close to Lake Okeechobee.
Right.
So
Right. Well,
um,
there was a guy talking to me the other
that's
day.
all property. That's all land,
Right. Yeah.
and
And
that
well,
is
there was a
lost.
guy. And it's not. It's getting to the point where uh, there's not going to be any more, and either what I've seen, uh, they took almost all of Homestead and took all the farmlands that was down here, and even up, there used to be a spot called Robert is here, uh, that was like going out towards the red. Well, I guess it's, I don't know what you'd call it, but it was like an iconic little spot where it's farmland and people could come and drive through and stop at fruit shacks and stuff like that. And they took every bit of that and started like building condos and all that stuff. And just each year, it's just more and more land is getting took, and it's like, wow, like. And even over by the NASCAR track, uh, all the land that used to be out and through there, they're taking and building dumps on it. They just put an Amazon warehouse out there. They put all these houses and condos out there. Like within 2 years, I don't even recognize the place, And
Yeah.
unfortunately, I'm afraid before long, like you said, it's gonna be no land, like. Uh, it's sad,
Yeah.
really. It sucks, and you know,
Yeah.
but
And the
you
thing
know, get,
is, Bigfoot in the state of Florida has been recognized. It's
oh,
been
it's huge
recognized
down here.
in Tallahassee. Now
Yeah,
it's in the hunting. It's been recognized. I mean, I'm
I mean,
talking about as far as Florida government goes. They've
right.
recognized the existence of
Yeah, yeah,
Bigfoot because I have the documentation, I have the
yeah,
paperwork that they discussed what to do with it, what to call it, and all that. And that was in the 1970s in the House of Representatives of the State House of Tallahassee. And
right,
also there's hunting regulations that literally says there is no taking of skunk ape, Bigfoot, or whatever. That's
right.
their way of acknowledging it, but
Yeah,
on the down low where people don't
yeah.
recognize that they have acknowledged it, you know.
That's what I tell people.
But we
I
need to
say,
bring it into mainstream. It needs to come
yeah,
up as everybody knows.
yeah. That's what I would show people. I was like, you can go to the .gov and it'll say basically in the hunting regulations, do not take a swamp ape or skunk ape, and like, and I'm like you, like to me that's acknowledging it, and I think that
It is acknowledging it. It's a
yeah,
government site. It's a government paperwork. Why would they?
right,
Why would they put
yep,
something in there as a joke?
right, right. It's yeah. If you go to the
Because it's a
fwc.gov,
catch
it's like
22. It's a catch
right,
22. If Frank goes out there and kills one of these things, they got
yep,
you. They got you.
yeah, yeah,
You're not going to be
yeah,
able to go public with it because I guarantee you, if I was a government and I said, well, here, Frank, right here, it says you're not allowed to do this. So
right,
you're looking at
right,
this fine, you're looking at this prison sentence or whatever. But
yeah,
if you don't say a word, we're going to take the body and you don't say another word about it, we'll let
yeah,
you go.
right, right, yeah,
Absolutely. You see what I'm saying?
yeah,
They got their
and
butts covered when it comes to that thing. And it's Florida's not the only state. There's many states that
no,
have that in
right.
there.
Well, and you take Oklahoma, I think there's a bounty out there for, like what place is going to say, hey, you go shoot one and bring it to us and we're going to pay you, $2 million or whatever. Like that's a serious thing. And I personally wouldn't ever want to do that. Uh, I don't have no interest in doing that. But, you know, you was talking about a while ago, uh, being out there and recording and stuff like that. Like, you know, I don't think people realize how hard it is doing that stuff anyway. Like
Hmm.
being prepared constantly because you don't know when it's going to happen. Uh, I couldn't tell
You
you how
don't.
many times that I've been out and something happened and I realized I hadn't turned my recorder on, or uh, by the time that I think I see something and pull my thermal up, it's gone.
Yeah.
It's it's so
Sometimes you
crazy.
don't even have the opportunity. I've been
Right,
in positions where I pulled up, I hadn't even got the equipment out yet. You know
right,
what I mean? And something
yeah,
happened. You're like, I haven't even got a chance to open up my backpack, set up my
yeah.
camera, or get my audio out, and something happens. And then you go the rest of the day with nothing.
And that was one of the first things that they taught us going out with the BFRO was like, hey, before you even, like when we're 2 minutes out, turn your audio on. And that way
Hmm.
it's on and going by the time you get out of the vehicle and stuff. And, knowing that, and as many times as I've been told that, sometimes it slips your mind. And, uh, or sometimes you don't check it and the battery's died, or, you know, I couldn't, the time that this past May, I was out in Kentucky, and a lot of times when you go out with the BFRO and places, they got you in different spots each night and stuff like that. And I knew a lot of people that had been in this specific trail that had had sightings before, and so I was like, you know what, I'm gonna spend the whole entire time just on this trail and not going to play whack-a-mole and move. Like my theory was I'll go here tonight, and if I go to a different spot, then I'm gonna have to hear and debrief the next morning that somebody had a sighting or had something happen at the place that I was just at.
Right.
So I decided that I was going to spend the whole entire time at this location, and buddy, sure enough, uh, we we decided there was three of us that went, and we was playing different things and trying different things, and we had a speaker with us, and we played the Sierra sounds, and not the ones that had like the uh, explaining what goes on. It's just like the raw audio where it's just the sounds itself, and you hear Moorhead calling back to them and stuff.
Right,
And
right.
so we played that, and then we had just talked about the story of this kid. I think he was in North Carolina. He was out in the yard or something, and I may be wrong on the location, but basically the kid was out in the yard and he disappeared, and they found him like a few days later, 50 or 60 miles away or something like that. And he had said something, so he had said something about a bear and took care of him, and people in the Bigfoot world basically think it was a Sasquatch, not a bear, because I think a bear would eat him. But so just thinking about that story, we decided we was going to play like a baby crying on a speaker to see if it would draw anything in. And we played that, and buddy, it was a quiet night. We didn't hear nothing. There was a tree that had fell across the road, and we was sitting on a pile of rocks that was kind of about, I guess, maybe 20 yards from that tree. But we was sitting in the dark, and buddy, as soon as that baby crying quit, we had two screams, and it was so close and so unexpected. I was fixing to run, to be honest. Like it just shook me because it was so close and unexpected. And as soon as the scream happened, it done it twice, but as soon as it happened, this just old nursing home, just nasty piss smell came in, and it was so thick that like it was like you could taste it, and I mean it was really really thick, and it you could feel like a breeze come in with it, and it probably stuck around for a good 10 minutes, and I'm sitting there like ready to take off, and like here I am with a flashlight on my head, thermal, and just not thinking, like, because it kind of caught me off guard. And by the time I said, oh, well, let me therm because it's got to be right in front of us, or let me turn my light on, I didn't do it. And when I turned my thermal on, I couldn't really tell. I thought I seen like some heat behind a tree, and then I handed it to my buddy, and this thing's a good thermal, and the battery lasts forever, and it died very quick, which kind of shocked me, but then it kind of added to the, because you always hear, oh, well, your batteries go
Right.
dead, but never seen nothing. And he said he thought he seen something peek behind a tree. I couldn't tell you, but I do some animal tracking, and I'm going to a thing in Florida later on this year, or well, in February next year, because one of the girls that's in the BFRO, me and her became an investigator the same day. She does a national tracking course, and I'm going to do that with her, and because we like to track animals and stuff, and it's something that we do when we go out on these things, and to me it just adds to being able to help with this. So I went back that night, and I listened to every thing that I would think that would be in this area to try to find what sound it was, and I couldn't find it. I couldn't. So
Yeah.
when I was up in British Columbia talking with Todd, we was talking about Meldrum, and he was like, "Well, if you like," I was telling him, and unfortunately, I'll never get to meet Meldrum now, but he was somebody that I really wanted to meet and just talk and stuff with him, and but he's like, you need to watch his show. Where Legend Meets Science, or I think that's what it is, and I was watching that as I was on one of my trips, and I think the video was like 44 minutes, but like at the 23-minute mark, there's a thing inside they're listening to audio that they had recorded, and the guy that is talking, he's saying that it's definitely a primate that's making this sound. When I heard that, that was exactly what we had heard, and so the buddy that was with me, I sent him that and said, "Hey," I said, "listen to this," and I didn't mention anything else. I said, "Listen to that and tell me what it is." And he immediately hit me back and said, "Oh my gosh, that's what we heard that night. That's what we heard. You send that to Charlie." And I sent it to Charlie, and but you know, I I'd spent a few months trying to figure out what that sound was because I'd never heard it, and it wasn't like the Ohio howl or the howl or anything like that. But uh, if anybody ever watches that Legend Meets Science and they get to that spot, that's what we heard, and it done it twice.
Right.
And you couldn't hear it walk up, you couldn't hear it leave. It was almost like they're quiet. It was kind of mind
Yeah.
blowing, but it was so crazy for it to happen. Here we are thinking that. Obviously we're trying to draw something in, but we're sitting there listening to, sitting in the dark and not hearing anything walk up on you. And then just out of the blue, something screams in front of you, and you're just like, "Whoa,"
Right.
And but then it goes back to what we talked about at the beginning. Like if it was there to harm us, it could
Yeah,
have.
and that's why I tell everybody all the time. I'm not saying it's not capable because it absolutely is
Right,
capable of hurting. Has
right,
it hurt people? Probably. Has it killed people?
probably,
Maybe.
maybe,
But for the most part, I think the odds are with me that I'm going to be just fine. I've
yeah,
had some close encounters, and like I said, the only thing separating me and them was a tent, and nothing happened. So,
right.
um,
I think you got
but
to
we're
worry
getting
more
over the
about.
2 hours. We've been talking for over. What's that?
I said I think you got to worry more about people than them.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I've ran into some crazy people in the woods, but
Yeah,
so like I said, tonight's show is talking about your journey, your from sitting in a vehicle talking to a guy about Bigfoot and not really giving it a second thought to now you're traveling the United States. You've left the country. You know what I mean? In
yeah,
this pursuit. You know what I mean? And I think that's fascinating. And if nobody
yeah.
respects that, go away because that's you've invested some serious money because it ain't cheap, and
No, it ain't.
even drive time, gas, food, passports, flights, whatever it
Yeah,
takes. That's a lot of
yeah,
money spent. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And
yeah.
I applaud you for that. I really, you get my utmost respect. I think that's
I
amazing.
appreciate it.
You know what I
No,
mean? Because I do travel Florida, but
yeah,
and occasionally I get a chance to leave. Like I said, at the beginning
right.
of the month, I was able to go out to Ohio, and
That's a
and
place I
which was
go.
not. It was a two. Yeah, and I'll hook you up if you ever decide to go up to Ohio. The hot spot up there is Salt Fork
South Fork.
State Park,
Yeah,
um, and
that's
I'll
where I've
hook
been.
you up with the right
Yeah.
people.
Okay.
I'll
Yeah,
hook
because
you up with
that's
the right people. If you want to
yeah,
go
that's
up there, I'll hook you up with
yeah,
the right people.
yeah. South Fork's
You
definitely
know.
on my list. Ohio. Uh, you know, I kind of want to start hitting the Northeast, uh, like Upper New York.
Well,
Uh, places like
well,
that
the
too.
Adirondacks. Yeah. Well, and I forgot that one. I have been up to New York. There's an area up there called Cuba, New York,
Hmm.
and remember it very well because there's this town built around this lake, and we went up into the lower levels of the Adirondacks. It's a beautiful area, just
Right.
like you said, when we think of New York, we think the city of New York, but there's so many
Right.
beautiful mountainous wilderness areas. It's the same here in Florida. People say Florida, they think Orlando, they think the beaches, but we
Right.
know a side of Florida that they don't know.
Right.
And
Florida's what?
so it's the same as New York. It was just
Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
it's the same as Ohio. When I went to Ohio, I didn't know there were mountains in Ohio. I did not, or
Right.
not. I'd say mountains, but I mean they're from Florida. Florida being the flattest state in the nation, there are
Right.
mountains, but
Well, when you
everything
get
was
over to
uphill.
like the
Everything
yeah
was uphill.
yeah when you get over around the southeast side and areas like that, like well the guy that got me into this, he's from Ohio, and he was
So
that's
where
all.
does he stand now?
Oh,
Do you work
he's
with that
been
guy still?
no, but we go to
Huh?
church and stuff. No, I don't work with him, but we go to church and stuff together, and he's still. Oh, he's a yeah, he's a diehard. He's always been into it, but
Yeah, but how does he
he's
feel about you now? Now that he
uh,
looks at you and what you're doing
he
in a
kind of lives
field that when he
vicarious
first met
through
you,
me. Yeah, he kind of lives vicarious through me. Like anytime I go on these and come back, like he's hitting me up. Hey, what's going on? What you see? What you do? Because
well, let me tell you something, Frank. Let me tell you something, Frank. If you ever in the future write a book, okay, you
yeah.
need to give him credit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. He's definitely the one that got me into it. And honestly, uh, it's kind of funny because like I know deep down if he could, he'd be doing this right beside me. And
Right.
unfortunately, like he's pretty busy and got his own thing going. So like, but he's constantly hitting me up, and he's kind of like a father figure to me. So, but
Right.
he's been he's been yeah he's kind of he's the one that always told me. I couldn't tell you how many times I told him he was goofy and you know oh, you're crazy. That ain't real. Blah blah. He's like, no, they're real, buddy. They're real. I'm telling you. And then finally he
So
wore me
here he
down.
is. He shows you. He shows you
Yeah,
videos of Todd
yeah,
Standing, and now
yeah.
you're shaking hands with Todd Standing. So that's got
You
to blow
know,
his mind. You know
well,
what I
you know
mean?
what's crazy? The family. Okay, so that's kind of what was unique was the family that he worked for was the people who funded Todd's movie, the very first film or whatever that he got into. So they were the
Right.
ones that kind of launched Todd's career. So, or not career, but they were the ones who funded his first film. So when we was actually working for those people and I didn't know nothing about Todd and that until all that, but like so when I first talked to Todd, I was like, "Hey, such and such? Yeah, I worked at their house." And oh yeah, And so it was kind of unique to be in that and not really know. And then, uh, but yeah, we've been thinking he keeps giving me little names because he keeps asking me when I'm going to have my own little stuff, and I was like, you know, I'm really just enjoying being out and going and learning and stuff, but I am going to start filming. And not that I'm trying to be popular or nothing like that, but it's a journey, and I want to be able to
Yeah.
just have it for myself, have my recordings for myself. And, there's a lot of times I go out there and have all these cameras and I never
Well,
record nothing because I'm in the moment. And, but
right.
it is something
Oh,
that I
I
do.
get the same way. I've actually got myself in. I've got myself in trouble doing that, and I've gotten lost in the woods because I'm so
Right. Yeah.
into what's going on
Yeah.
around me. I all of a sudden I realized, wait a minute, it's getting dark, and I don't know where I'm at.
Well, and two, everybody tells me, don't bring cameras out because they're tricky with cameras. So like I've been kind of like figuring out how I'm gonna do my setups. That way, I got a pair of glasses that have a camera in the middle. Just little things that I can record and not look like I'm out there with a camera. You know what I mean? And
Right,
uh,
right, right.
but
Well, we'll
also
have to get together, dude.
For sure, dude. Yeah, I'm definitely down, and I
You
would
know,
love,
I've
like
got
I
a
said,
great area here,
yeah. I need to be,
and
see.
I would love to have you here.
Yeah,
Huh?
I'm totally down, especially now that the weather's getting a little bit cooler and stuff, and uh,
Oh
I need to
yeah.
be more
Even if it's
involved in
just for
Florida.
a yeah, a day or two or whatever, I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
because like I said, I just started a new job. I have no idea what my schedule is. I don't know
yeah,
what my days off will be or how I'm going to do anything. But again, now I've got a job where I actually earn vacation time and sick time and stuff like that. But
yeah. Right.
we'll have
Yeah,
to plan something
yeah, for sure,
and,
dude. Because like,
get you out there and,
mhm.
and stuff
Yeah,
like,
because
because I look forward to that. Like I said, we've talked about it for, gosh, a long
yeah, yeah,
time
right,
and
and
it just
yeah.
hasn't materialized. But we need to make it materialize.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely do because like I said, I need to be more involved in Florida. Most of my stuff have been outside of Florida, and I need to be more involved down here and learn. And I think when I think too, being now getting the investigator spot has kind of opened that window up for me for down here, and
Right.
uh, and there's already like you and uh, I mean I got I go up in the Panhandle every year, but like I would definitely like to get up with you and go out and honestly, some of my best friends now is people that I've met doing this, and it's been such a rewarding. Uh, I don't even know what you call it. Just it's been a good life as far as the people that I've met. Some of my best friends that I have now are people that I've met doing this from different states. Like we don't get to talk all the time, but like anytime we get out
Right.
and meet each other, like you meet a lot of good people doing this. And I've
Right.
met, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, and I've met some good people. You meet some wackos, and it is what it is. But like I've met a lot of
Yeah,
good
I mean,
people.
I've had my share of disappointment where I've invested my time or I've invested my own personal emotions or
Hmm.
relationships with certain people in the Bigfoot community and was let down. Um, you know, but in general sense, I've met some fantastic people.
Yeah,
Johnny, for example, the co-host of the show, he's
right,
one of the closest friends I have.
right,
There's nothing I wouldn't do for Johnny. Same with
right,
Icebox. Me and Icebox are really close friends. There's
right.
nothing I wouldn't do for that man. And there's quite a few others that I respect in the field. I think they're doing great work.
Yep.
But then, like I said, I've been done wrong. I've been lied to. I've been,
It's
disappointed in. Um,
it is a
the Bigfoot
I,
community. It's
yeah,
a
it's
it's a
tricky.
tricky community.
It is tricky, and
You
I've
know.
learned a little bit about that. But I will say that what I do enjoy a lot about it is it's such a learning curve. Uh,
Yeah.
you know, I've learned so much about it that I think just over the time, and that's been one of the main reasons why I try to reach out to so many people and try to go out with them because
Yeah.
I want to meet people and learn from them and like I'm very humble when it comes to this. I have no ego whatsoever when it comes to any of this stuff. So like my whole thing is I want to be able to go and meet these people and I want to be able to pick their brain or just go see how they do it and I picked up little things
Yeah.
from different people and some I've tried and some I've not got yet around to trying, but I see their point and uh, and I will try it at some point and stuff. And, so it's just picking little things and getting little bits of knowledge from books and people and stories. And I've just really
Right.
enjoyed it, man. It's been a really good thing. And I get to meet
Well,
cool people like
definitely.
you.
I'm
Yeah.
not cool. I'm just old. Um, what I really want to do is I have a book, and when we meet, I'm going to pass this book on to you because I think it's really going to help you out a lot. And
Okay.
this is kudos out to Steve Coles. I don't know if you know Steve Cole, Squatch DTV. Yeah, Squatch Detective. Great show. I recommend anybody subscribe to that channel.
Okay.
He comes in
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
logical, very forensic. He's able to break down videos. A lot of times he takes videos and shows you why they're not real. But he's a true 100% believer. He's seen these things. He's been on television. He's written many books, but he wrote one book, and I have it on the shelf. I meant to take a snapshot of it so I could put it on the screen, and I forgot about it. But and anybody can get it on Amazon. But it's basically it's a guide to investigating, and he tells
Okay.
you these are the questions to ask. These are the things to look at, not just the evidence, but the person you're interviewing. Key
Right. Right.
questions, key things to look for, you know.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that book would really benefit you a lot. It's a great book.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not a very thick book,
Right.
but I would love to pass that on to you when we do meet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My
No, I
goal was to
appreciate
have it sent to Steve so he can autograph it for me. I bust his balls all the time about. It's the only book I got on my shelves that
it.
I haven't I haven't had personally autographed by the author. Like I
Right.
met Jeff Meldrum and he signed a book.
Right.
Ron Moorhead and different people, but
Right. Right.
this is a book,
No,
and I consider Steve a friend. He's a good guy, and
right.
but I want to pass that book on to you, and
Hey, I
but
appreciate
I think it'll be a
Yeah,
good book for you.
I really appreciate
So
it.
we
I
got to make it
definitely,
happen, dude. We got to make it
yeah,
happen. You just got
yeah,
to remind me that hey, I'm on my way. Don't forget that book.
right,
you
yeah,
know,
yeah. No,
'Cause
I'll
you know,
definitely keep hitting you up with it. Yeah, because I'll definitely, we'll definitely keep in touch and make it happen because it's, we've talked about it for a little longer than we probably should have got it by
yeah.
now, but we'll get there.
Well, it's one of those things. It's time and money. I either got the
Yeah,
time or I don't
it
got the
is.
money, or I've got the money, I just don't got the time. You know what
Right,
I mean?
right.
So,
Well, and
but that's
Florida
how
is one
life
of
is.
those
That's how life
states.
is.
And Florida is one of those states that you just can't go out there all the time because it's so hot and
No,
miserable. I
it is
mean,
miserable. If the
yeah.
heat don't get you, the mosquitoes do.
Oh yeah, yeah. So you really you gotta time it right. So, but we'll definitely time it because I'd really enjoy it.
October through December, I think, is the three best months.
Yeah.
I've had my best encounters in
Hmm.
December, but
Yeah.
October's good too. October's really good.
I kind of figured, I thought kind of around that time just because I figured, because people talk about maybe migrating and stuff. I kind of figured that, you know, in the middle of well, where I'm at, it's hot most of the year, so you know, they would. I think they stay kind of hidden away most of the time, and when it starts to cool out is when they
Yeah.
start coming out a little more. And right now, like it's so crazy how you can it's still hot, but you can tell like a 10-degree difference right now, and it feels great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, where I'm at right now, it is the last couple weeks has been beautiful. Even though it's
yeah,
in the upper 80s during the day, there's a
right.
breeze. It feels
Oh,
so good. It's so comfortable. At night, it's dropping to the low 70s, upper 60s. I
oh,
mean, it's
that'd
just
be.
gorgeous here right now. This is my favorite time of the year. You know,
We've not got there yet. It's probably in the, I would say mid 80s at night right now. But uh, I've been looking at the weather, and in the next few weeks, it's supposed to get down in the 70s, and but like I said, you know, and but down here, especially in the middle of summertime, you can leave at midnight and it'll be 97 degrees, and it's
oh yeah.
just
Well, I went down to the Keys. I went down to the Keys one time to go fishing. I got there at 3 o'clock in the morning, and it was almost 90 degrees.
yeah, yeah,
And when the sun came up, I started fishing. The sun came up, I started fishing. So whatever sunrise was, 6:37 a.m. By
yeah.
9, I had sunburned and peeled by 9 o'clock in the morning.
Right. Yeah. It's miserable, man. Like you got it. It took me some getting used to it. It's like that's what I try to tell people that ain't used to it. Like it's hot, but at nighttime it don't really change. You know, the humidity gets even worse, and it might drop 10 degrees. So it's awful. And
Right.
but
Well,
I
and that's
know.
that's the point I always bring up about thermal, because I'm a big fan of thermal, and I know
Me
a lot of
too. Yeah.
people are a big fan of thermal. But the
Yeah.
problem is in Florida is it is
It's
so friggin' hot. Thermal does you no good. And even
yeah.
at 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, when you scan the forest, it looks like a
It's
forest fire. Everything is still
right.
holding that residual heat that it absorbed all
Right.
day. So thermal's
Right.
not great here until the winter time. But once winter
Right.
comes, thermal's on, dude. Thermal's
Yeah,
on.
like that's when I went up to Kentucky last week. You know, one night it was down in the 40s, and my thermal was just so crisp. I was like, man, this is nice. But like you said, when down here, it's like a ball of fire everywhere. uh, but yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, when I went up to Ohio, because I don't get to use I don't because I'm by myself all the time. So
right?
when you're by yourself, especially in Florida, there's a lot of things that want to do us harm. You don't
Yeah,
really go out, especially by yourself. You don't go out
yeah,
in the woods at night by yourself. You don't go
yeah,
into the swamps. Something
yeah,
bad's going to happen and nobody's going to find you.
yeah,
So getting up to Ohio gave me that opportunity to use my thermal, to use my night vision,
yeah.
and I mean, I didn't catch anything, but it was fun to use the equipment. A lot of people don't realize
Well,
it's fun to use the equipment. You know.
right. Yeah, I think for me, I go out to Big Cypress a lot, and you got to be careful out there because
Yeah.
especially like when it starts getting a little bit cooler, because during the day rattlesnakes are everywhere. There's just
Yep.
so many gators and stuff out there. Like you gotta you gotta kind of be careful, and it's got to the point now that I'm so used to scanning for gators and whatnot when I'm around water. When I go up to Kentucky and Tennessee, like when I'm around water, like I'm scanning, and then I have to tell myself like, oh well,
Yeah.
I'm up here now. It's like, uh, but no, it's one of these places where Big Cypress is one of these places where they're definitely. I've had some pretty good knocks and stuff out there, and but
Right.
one of my buddy uh, that came out to California with me and went up to Todd's with me. Like he was like, "Are you sure Sasquatches and stuff are down in Florida?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude." He was like, "I just can't see them being down there." And I'm like, "I'm telling you, dude. Like, yeah, they're not called Sasquatch. People call them skunk apes and stuff like that, but they're here. And Florida is one of the biggest states.
Yeah. Ranks
That
third, I think, or whatever in
Yeah,
sightings.
yeah, yeah, and
You know,
and
and I think
you
that
know,
number is going to increase because of the loss of land. I think that's going to
well,
increase.
that and the amount of reports that's on the website for the BFRO that's not documented yet is insane. There's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of reports. So, like, you think about, it's mind blowing that it's already like third. You know what I mean? But think of all the ones that's
Right.
not reported yet. So I mean, like I have,
Right.
I mean, there's pages and pages that I've been going, and I've already been starting to talk to people, and you know, it's definitely a hot spot, man. And uh,
Well, yeah. When you look at Washington State, California, bam, all the way to Florida.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
huge. That's
it
huge.
is. And I was watching a thing. I think it was Matt Pruitt that was talking about it. It's usually places that get a lot of rain, and I was like, you know what, that kind of makes sense because you know when you look at a lot of these sightings and you look at like the Midwest and yeah, there's sightings there, but there's a big section of that area that's a really dry climate that you don't have a lot of reports in. But when you get over to the East Coast and you think about the Northwest, it's a big rainy spot. When you get down at like Kentucky,
Yeah.
Tennessee, North Carolina, all those places, a lot of rain. Florida, Florida's a wet state,
Well,
so it's
Oh yeah, it's a tropical environment, and that's why I tell people like where I live. And if you ever pay attention to the weather in Florida during the
Hmm.
summer, watch where the thunderstorms erupt. They just blow
Yeah,
up Central
yeah,
Florida, right
yeah,
in the middle of the state. They
yeah.
just explode, and all of a
It's
sudden you've got 3 4 hours of nothing but
yeah,
thunderstorms. That's where
yeah,
I
yeah.
live. That's where I
Right.
live. If you look on the map at Highlands
Mhm.
County during the summer, you're going to see my county blow up every
Yeah,
day.
yeah, yeah. It does, and it's usually around the same time every day. And I mean, it's y'all get some pretty gnarly storms too, man. Uh,
Yeah, we
just
we get a lot. Sebring, where I'm at is I love this county. I've always come back to it. I've left a few times in my life, but it's home,
now,
and
now,
it's a different lifestyle. It's a different
where are
lifestyle.
you from? Like according to Orlando, where are you? Like south, east, west,
I'm
north,
south of Orlando.
south of
I'm
Orlando?
south. If you
Okay.
drew a line, if you drew a line across the state from Sarasota to
Hmm.
Port St.
Oh,
Lucie,
okay.
and then
Right,
from Orlando, and then Orlando straight down where they cross in the middle of the state. That's where I'm at.
right. Oh man, you're in a bad
That's
spot
where
for
I'm
her.
at. So draw a line from Sarasota. Oh yeah,
Right.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
We the last few. Here's it's really funny, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all, but I
Right.
think it's kind of funny that DeSantis passes a law that planes are not allowed to do chemtrails over the state of Florida. I don't think you've noticed that. There's no more chemtrails. It's very
Yeah.
little if it does happen. It's minimal. But I used to walk outside, with the job that I had. I'd count 50 chemtrails, and they would just stay there. They wouldn't dissipate. They would just get bigger and bigger and bigger. Now there's
Right.
zero. And now with the government shutdown, there's
Right.
nothing. There's no chemtrails anywhere. All of a
Right.
sudden, we got great weather. We're not getting the
Right.
hurricanes. Look, if you notice, all the hurricanes
Right.
they went away.
Yeah. Yeah.
They went
You know
away.
what's
They're avoiding Florida, and I love it.
well,
Which is funny because the first year I bought a generator for hurricane season, and I did all. I knew even took it.
well, where I'm at, I'm on the very bottom southeast corner, so it's like every year we're kind of like right in the middle of the like you think you're going to get hit, and then it either goes south of us or it goes north of us, and then it's like so like I know right where you're at, like you all are on a dangerous spot, man, because like the last few years it's came on both
We've had
sides.
two,
Yeah,
multiple, but
yeah,
yes, one of them,
yeah,
the eye went right over my house. The eye went
right,
right over us. We got hit hard.
yeah.
I had a tornado right here in the yard. Yo,
Yeah, because when I was looking,
so
I know
but
the last few years it's been you kind of got hit from one side and then you got hit from the other side, and I was just like,
yep,
good lord. I was like, that's a bad spot. I had a buddy, they just moved to Lakeland from up where I'm from, and I was like, guys, get ready. I was like, you're in a. They're like,
yep.
man, these thunderstorms are wild. I was like, yeah, but
Well,
yeah,
my county gets it really bad. Gets it really tough. You know. But we've gone over 2.5 hours. Me and you, we know each other. We could go for another 3 hours. So,
yeah,
but
yeah. I appreciate you having me on.
we'll have to. Dude, man, absolutely. That's why I called you. I said, dude, I really need to get you on the show because I'm so intrigued with your journey.
I
Just
appreciate it.
where you were when we talked a couple years ago to where you're at now.
Yeah,
It makes me happy that you're putting in that all that effort and all that time and money. And I wish I could. Hopefully with the new job I have, I'll be
right.
able to do more. I really do. Um,
Yeah,
but
I've kind of taken
you
advantage
have
of
an
it.
yeah.
Well,
You absolutely have an open invite anytime you want to come here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, I really do because like I've, I've, I've told people, the people that know me and the people that I try to be a very genuine person, but my whole goal into this is, of course, I want that really good Class A sighting, and I think I've seen. I don't think I've had like a super good, like just mind blowing. I think I've had enough to where I know. But regardless, I'm going to be. That's what I told when I first went to the BFRO, they was like, they ask you, they was like, "What's your plans?" It's like, I'm gonna be an investigator, and I'm gonna be doing this stuff from here on out. I'm in, and I'm 100% in, and I'm gonna be doing it with or without y'all. You know what I mean? Preferably with you, but uh, it's just something that I'm going to do, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to a lot of places so far in the little bit of time that I've been doing it. I got a lot of places still left on my list
Right.
that I'm going to hit up, Lord willing, and you know I would love to. I got all the stuff that I've gathered over the last couple of years, but I do need to. Start videoing, and I got cameras, I got thermal drones, I got all the stuff that I need. I just, when I'm out there, I'm in the moment, and uh, so I
Right.
gotta probably get better at videoing. I'm hoping to probably start a YouTube
Well,
thing.
I'll help you any way I'll help you any way I can.
No, I really
Absolutely.
appreciate it because I'm
And I do that
really,
with everybody. I want to help people
yeah,
because I love this subject. I want to help people. I want them to get
right,
better at it. And
yeah.
so I'll
I
help you
appreciate,
anyway. And like I said, open invite anytime, dude.
I
Even if you
appreciate it.
call me and say, "Hey, I got one day." Dude,
Yeah, yeah,
drive up. We'll go out there for a day, spend six,
yeah,
7, 8 hours, do our
yeah,
thing and stuff like that. I'll take you to dinner or lunch or whatever. You know what I
yeah,
mean? But
yeah, yeah.
let's real
We'll definitely
quick
do that.
before I let you go. Let's see if there's anybody in the chat room that has a question. Now, um, you know, Cryptic Crystal said, "Do you find that there's a lot of planes, choppers that show up where you find Sasquatch evidence?" I personally have not ran into anything like that. What is annoying is it seems like every time I videotape, a plane flies over, and I'm like, God dang it, I'm trying to video here, and I got a plane flying over. But I have an unexplainable event with a drone.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I can say. I did have an event with a drone.
Well, it's funny that's a question, that question right there, because literally the expedition that I was just on in Kentucky, every night we had a helicopter circling our spot, uh, which was weird because the first night they kept circling where we was at, and then the second night they showed up and they kind of spotlighted in our area and then flew off. And then the last night they kind of done the same thing, and it's not happened to me every time, but I have had uh, helicopters show up from time to time. But this past expedition, every night it was really weird. It wasn't
Wow.
just like a flyby. They circled where we was at, and that it was pretty strange. Like it had a
Well,
few of them asking, like what's up with this? Because like uh, it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't a hospital helicopter. You could tell that it wasn't that. They would literally circle and then circle back, and then the next night they spotlighted down on the ground where we was at, and then kind of went on, and then the last night they circled a few times, and you know, it, so there's been a
and
few
that's the thing
spots.
is we both have military backgrounds.
Hmm.
And so we're used to aircraft. We know what helicopters and we know what
Yeah,
intent is. If it's
right.
just a
Yeah,
flyby, that's one thing. But we know
right.
intent.
Yeah, yeah. And this was definitely scoping us out because, uh, you don't circle multiple times like that. You don't spotlight like that. Now,
Right.
I have been in spots where, now I will say in British Columbia, we spoke a little bit about this. We had the military night vision, and when you look up with those, you can see thousands of stars that you normally don't see. There was some weird stuff in the skies in British Columbia.
Well, that's what
What
Brian said. Brian said the same thing.
It
He
was
said when
weird,
he
dude.
was up there, he saw some weird stuff in the sky.
Yeah,
Brian said the
it
same
kind of
thing.
blew my mind really because like I, I I was excited to get up on the mountain and use them because I hadn't seen the stars. You know, my whole thing was like I wanted to get up there, see the stars, but it was really cloudy, and we I had one little opening one night where we had the 14s, and we was I had like a little gap, maybe a 30-minute window that I could look up in the sky, and probably behind the first layer of stars, they was things that looked like a star, but they was say like
Oh
14
wow.
of them, and they would fly towards each other and circle and dart off. I mean, there was no like distinct pattern, so you could tell it wasn't satellites. You could tell it wasn't uh, planes or drones. It was too far. It was too high up and moved too different to be satellites. And
Well, yeah, that's what I told Brian too. I remember when he first brought it out. I said, "Do you think it was satellites?" He's like, "No, the behavior was not
yeah,
satellite."
it,
You
it,
know what I
it,
mean?
it threw me for a loop because I really wasn't expecting to see it. You know, like I that wasn't my intentions. My intentions was to just get a good look at the stars with the night vision. And when I seen that, I was like, I was telling my buddy, I was like, oh my goodness, like look at this, and we started watching it, and then we watched it until the cloud coverage happened. But back to the question, maybe on not every expedition I've been on, but I would say maybe three or four I've had helicopters.
Wow. Anybody else have a question? Throw it out here now because we're about to end the show. But throw some questions out there. I tell you what, one of the weirdest things I caught on night vision was I went outside. Where I live, I'm way out in the country, and I've got a
Mm-hmm.
beautiful view of the sky. And I
Right.
sat down on the front porch, and I was looking at the sky, and I was looking south, and there was a beam of light. Now this was in the infrared spectrum because when I put the night vision down, you
Mm-hmm.
couldn't see it.
Couldn't see
But when
it.
I looked, there was this beam of light coming from South Florida across. I mean, it was a straight beam. It wasn't like a spotlight or anything. It
Right.
was a straight beam, and it would beam a few times and stop, and then it would beam a few times and stop. And every time I put the camera down, you couldn't see it. But as soon as I put it up, I would see this beam of light. I have it. So it told me it was whatever it was. It was huge,
Right.
because it was miles across, but it was
Right.
laser precise, like it was a giant laser, and it was definitely in the infrared spectrum because you couldn't see it
Right.
on anything else. I even tried it with my phone, and I couldn't pick it up on my phone. But as soon as I used night vision, I saw this beam. So I don't know what it is. You know what I mean?
I
I
have
don't
to
know what
send
it
you.
is.
I have to send you
Especially
the
right
video.
now, we got what's that?
I have to send you a video that I got.
Oh, you
That's right above my house. It was 2 years ago. I was going out. I was going to pick up my son. He was at a friend's house, and it was about 10 o'clock at night. I walked out of the house, and you know how like when the moon's really bright down here, uh, I went to get in my truck, and I thought in my peripheral, just from the brightness, I thought the moon was like right above my truck. So as I got in the truck and shut the door and went to start it, I looked out and the moon was like directly out in front of me. So I was like, wait a minute. I was like, well, what was that? So I opened the door and looked up, and there was two lights in the sky. All right. And when I looked up, they darted in different directions. So I jumped out and I grabbed my phone and I started trying to record it. Well, they came back, and I was looking for beams, thinking, is it somebody out here shining lights up in the sky or whatever? Couldn't find none, never seen a beam. But what was crazy is they would come back and then they'd disappear, and then they'd come back and disappear. And in the very last video I got, like say they're both lights are like this. They were kind of merged, and then one darts this way, and then one jerks up, and then goes like that. And it's really weird movement, but I'll send you those and let you check them out because it's
Yeah, I
I,
had something similar to that.
I have no clue.
Icebox asked if you could go anywhere else to look for Bigfoot, because I'm pretty sure you have a long list. where would you go? Like tomorrow, if you could go anywhere, where would you go?
Right now, if I had to pick the two places that I would pick right now, uh, would either be Salt Fork or either Uwharrie or Whitehall, New York. Uh, for
Well, I
some
can
reason,
make two of those happen for you.
I definitely want to. Salt Fork has been on my list for a while.
I can
White
make that
Fork,
happen for you.
yeah, I definitely want to do that one just because I know from everybody that I've talked to and things that I've researched, there's not a doubt that they're in Salt Fork.
Yeah, like I said, I've got some great audio. Now, I didn't get a sighting when I was up there, and I was up there for what was it, 4 days, 3 nights. But I got some great audio, and I'm still going through audio. I keep telling everybody I'm still going through audio. It's because I've been
Right.
so swamped with other things on my plate that I haven't finished the audio. But I've gotten some great audio.
Yeah.
When I say great, it's impressed me. So
Right.
I can make that happen. I'll get with the right people, and we'll make it happen if you want to get to Salt Fork.
Yeah. I
Um,
definitely want to do
Cryptid
Salt
Crystal,
Fork.
which I've met Cryptid Crystal, matter of fact, at Salt Fork. Is camping possible activity better in Florida during the winter months that we have up north? Winter is the best time in Florida strictly
Yeah.
because it's winter. It's colder. We don't deal with the mosquitoes and the bugs. It's more temperate. You can sleep in your tent because during the summertime, and you'll agree with me, you can't sit in a tent. It's
No,
a
it's too
sauna.
busy.
You cannot sit in your tent. You're
And
getting out of your tent at 6 a.m. because it's just too hot.
oh, it would be especially down where I'm at. Like, I mean, anywhere in Florida during the summer months, but down here, honestly, that's a question that I've thought to myself too. Like, maybe they are more active in the summer months and stuff just because they know people ain't out there because it would be way too
I'm the
miserable.
opposite. I think they're more active October, November,
Well,
December because
I
it's
think
cooled
that they
down
would.
and they can move a
Well,
lot.
right. Well, right. I do think that they would be more activity during that time because I think it would be too hot. But there's a part of me that questions the fact that they know that people's not out there as much in the summertime if they feel more free to move around. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I think it would be too hot for. I mean, if they're these big hairy things, I've read a lot that they hang out in trees and that I've actually been reading that they go in gator holes. Uh, but I went out to Big
Hmm.
Cypress this past summer and it was miserably hot. And I was like, I was riding around on my side by side out there, and I was putting out some apples and stuff, and I kept hearing this knock that was like pow 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 pow. And I know there's nothing out there, like no buildings or anything like that, but I kept hearing it, and there was a part of me that was like, I seen this, and anywhere down there, I had waders and stuff on because it's really wet and you got to wade through water. And I was like, I seen this group of pines, and I was like, everything in me was telling me to walk out there in it. And I got off my side by side and I started walking out there, and then all of a sudden I just got this really, really big gut feeling that said, don't go any farther. And I was always taught in the military to trust my gut, so I turned around and got out of there. But everything in me thought, if they're here in this spot, they would be in there in the shade. And but
Right.
they,
Well, I've done that where I'm walking through the woods and I'm pouring in sweat. It's just so hot.
yeah,
And I'll
yeah,
point at a dark area underneath a large palmetto or something like that, or a
right,
down tree, which makes great
right,
cover. And I'm like, that's where I'd be. I'd be
right,
right there because
yeah,
it's I guarantee you it's cooler inside that than where I'm
yeah,
standing right now. You know
right,
what I mean?
right. Because it's
But
the hot, almost like you feel the moisture hitting you up coming from the ground. It's crazy. But I'm like you. I do think that Especially around the Ocala Green Swamp area, like especially probably from this time, like what you was talking about, from like October to December. Uh, that's a hot area. I think it's cool enough for them to probably get out. Uh, I know Ocala has been known for some pretty good activity. Ocala's pretty creepy at night, and
Yeah,
some
that and the Green Swamp. I've been through
yeah,
the Green Swamp. I haven't actually investigated the Green Swamp, and the only
yeah,
reason I haven't is because I know right off the hand I can count six different groups that go out there investigating Bigfoot, and I really
yeah,
don't want to go where it's just
right,
overpopulated with investigators. I want to go
right,
like where I go. I'm the only
mhm,
one. I am
right,
it. See what I'm
yeah,
saying? So, like I said, if you want to come, I'm not guaranteeing you anything, but
yeah, yeah.
what I
No,
can say is we'll have
definitely.
a great time,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we won't be
definitely.
bothered. I mean, no, there's
Yeah,
nobody going
no,
to
I'll
bother us.
definitely. I'm like you. I don't want to go where a lot of people was at. Uh, the
Yeah,
place that I went
but
this year was up in the Panhandle, and
this,
it was, you know, wrong time, I think, because people was at hunting, running dogs, and it was just the wrong time when I
yeah,
went. Uh, but yeah, we'll definitely get together.
yeah, and like I said, I went to Salt Fork. I think it absolutely is a viable area. I've gotten
Hmm.
some great audio. I've got some like I said the first night, and I've got it on audio where I heard this, just like
Right.
that, and it sounded like it was on the next ridge from where I was at.
Right.
But the one that's got me weirded out that I'm going back and looking at was you've heard a buck or a deer when they snort when they get spooked
Hmm.
and they do
Yep.
that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, well this
Yeah.
was I got that and it was outside of my tent.
Hmm.
I don't know how far, but it wasn't across the ridge, and
Right.
I heard it. Well, I was sleeping, but I heard it on the audio, and it was just like this.
Right. Right.
Well, a deer doesn't do it repeatedly like that.
No, they
It
usually
just
do
it
it
does it
once
once
and
and it
they'll
bucks.
take off.
It just goes.
Yeah, they'll usually do it one good
And
time, and they'll take off, and then maybe a minute or so later they'll do it again. And uh, yeah, deer don't do it back to back like that.
I also have an audio on there where I can hear something walking around
Hmm.
behind my tent. I mean, literally, this was at my tent, and it was walking around. And then whatever it was, it tapped the mic. You know when you hit a mic and it goes boom, boom, boom when you tap a mic? It
Right.
tapped it once, paw, right on the microphone, paw. And so that's really weird. I still got 6 hours to go, and I've just been so caught up with other things in my life. I just have not gone through the rest
Well,
of the audio. But
I
and I'm
feel
not an
you.
audio guy. I like recording audio, and I like
Right.
listen to audio, but I don't
Right.
have the proper stuff to isolate and put it out there and stuff like that. But
Right.
and like Icebox made and he's told me about this when we talked, where him and his wife were in a camper and something was pushing his camper, and you could feel it moving. You know what I mean? And he was
Wilder,
feeling
man.
the camper move, and that's out
And
at
what?
Salt Fork.
But that's what I'm saying.
Um,
Like, what else would do that? You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
rock clacks behind me. I mean, well, Todd, now his girlfriend up there, she won't stay in the camper anymore, and one of the campers up there, because she said that she was sleeping in one day, and it got hit so hard that it knocked it off the jacks, and she
Oh
will
wow.
not go back out there and stay in one of the campers anymore. And
Uh,
you take something that, and I couldn't tell you how many stories that I've listened to and stuff where people talks about them coming up and smacking the side of their house, or they'll take a video or a picture of a handprint, and like the strength of these things is insane. But I
right.
think I think
Well,
a lot of
I had an inter.
go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I
I had
think
an
a lot.
interview with one guy.
Juveniles.
and he saw one jump a fence, run across the field, and ram a gate. And he had the big telephone pole size poles that the gate was attached to, and it bent
Hmm.
them over, like like you push a pole over,
Right.
just
Well, my
by impact.
my buddy that was out in California with me, he was in Marine Corps, and he was telling me a story uh, when he was in Afghanistan. They talk about giants and stuff over there. Uh, they watched on a thermal. This thing came out of the woods or off a mountain. It jumped over the wall where their base was, grabbed one of the, because Iraq had them. I mean, I seen them when I was there. Not like the Bigfoot, but wild dogs, like some of their wild dogs that they have. They're way more vicious than our wild dogs. But this thing, he said that they watched a
Right.
video. They watched it on night vision. They watched this thing jump a fence, grab this dog, and then throw the dog, against the thing and kill it, and then jump back across the fence and take off up in the mountains with it. And some of them fences are pretty good size. So when you think of something like that doing that,
Oh
like you're
yeah.
like, that's pretty wild. And you know, I you I've read stories of them doing that here, and uh, I you know the only time that I feel like I've had them outside my tent was well, the one time in Tennessee, but the time that night that I heard the scream there in Kentucky, when I went back that night, uh, I'm pretty sure whatever it was, something came around my tent, and I remember feeling something touch my tent to the point where I kicked the side of my tent to try to scare it away. And whether it was that or a possum or what, I don't know, but I know something came up and was brushing up against my tent that night, and I kicked the side of it because I was like, oh Lord.
Oh yeah. I've had a couple encounters. Like when you come here, I'll take you out there. Where I've had a
Yeah,
couple encounters at my tent.
yeah, I'm excited, man, because I you know I don't know how far you are from Okeechobee, but you know
About
they's
45 miles.
okay. Well, they's a guy that he's got some hunting land that we go out to in LaBelle, and it's 2,200 acres, and we have
Well, we talked about that.
yeah, and I think I
Yeah,
think
I'm
I think
about. I drove it and I passed it because I had to go to the airport in Fort Myers, and I
yeah,
had to take that road that me and you talked about. And
yeah,
I thought about you on the way to the airport,
right,
and I think what at that point it was about an hour drive. I think it was,
yeah.
if I remember
I'm
right.
pretty sure there's something there, man, because the way the way it done the trail camera. This guy's not a Sasquatch guy, and he's got the Stealth 360 camera. So when it takes a picture, it takes a picture of everything. And we've had
Right.
this bear. This bear. It's a big bear, but every time it takes one of his cameras, it chews it up and drags it off. But it's always connected to the pole the way he has them. And whatever this thing was, grabbed it, ripped it off the trail cam, or ripped it off the pole where it broke the bolts off the back of it, dropped it, it snapped the cable. It was like almost like, I mean, there wasn't no scratch marks, no bite marks, no nothing other than it
Right.
looked like something had grabbed it, ripped it off, broke it, dropped it, and left. And when I asked him, I was like, well, it's a Stealth 360 camera. Did you get anything? And he said the only thing that he could tell was at 1:30 in the morning something hairy. That's all he said. He said it was just something hairy. All he
Right.
seen was hair. And
Did did he keep that footage?
I've never seen it. I could ask him, but when I asked him, I was like, well,
See if he
I was like,
kept it.
I'll ask him, yeah, because when because it was, I I know they're here. I've never seen a skunk in South Florida. I know they're here. I'm not saying that there's no skunks, but I'm just saying personally, it's not like Kentucky or Tennessee where you see them dead on the road or you smell them all the time. And that day that we was driving around, when I found this camera down, I smelled something skunky, but it wasn't like a skunk smell. And I'd asked him, I was like, "Do you have anything, skunky? Have you seen any skunks out here?" And he was like, "No." And sure enough, that's where the camera was down at, so where I was smelling that. And I asked him, and he said that when he went back that night before is when it happened. But he said at 1:30 in the morning, he said the only thing you see is hair that's around the camera. And if you think about that, like how crazy is that something, regardless of what it is, that got up to it without being caught on the camera beforehand, to be able to grab it and snatch it off and then get going without, you know what I'm saying? Like, because any other time that we've had bears and stuff take it, you always see the bear circling and then it's sniffing of it and then then it does its thing. This, wasn't like that. So, not saying that it is, but could be.
Icebox wanted to ask, what time of year was the smell?
March. Yeah.
So summertime.
Well, we was doing spring turkey. It's during spring turkey season.
Right.
Yep.
All right. Yep. Well, we're at 3-hour mark now. I don't think these people.
I'm sorry.
I don't think these people understand. When me and you get together, we talk.
Yeah.
We're gonna have you back. We're gonna have to have you back, and
anytime,
especially with your adventures. You're gonna continue doing great things, and like I said, I'm more infatuated with your travels, and that really as time goes by, these experiences that you're going to create and stuff like that. And I wish I was in your shoes. I really do. I wish I could afford to travel like you do, and get the time off to do that. I think it's amazing. We're going to have you back. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I was just saying, I got one more plan for next month, and then other than that, I'll be going out to next month. I'll be in South Carolina, but then I think I'm supposed to go up to Floral County in the next week or so, just to investigate one of the people that I've been talking with through the BFRO that on one of his reports, and then from basically like the end of November to February, I'm going to be pretty much open doing my own little things. So maybe sometime during that time. And then, once February starts up, I'll be starting back doing expedition.
Well, like I said, I started a new job. I don't know what days off I'm going to have. They say you work 4 to 5 days a week, 10-hour shifts. So I don't know what it looks like, but if there is a time that I have a 2 days in a row off, or a 3-day weekend or something like that, you'll be the first person I call and say, "Hey, I got time if you want to come down." We'll check out my area and stuff like that. Especially I haven't been out there in a good 6 months, so things have kind of died down, and because I hit it pretty hard. So this is an opportunity for it to relax, and I'm not out there, even though it's just me and
they may be missing you, man.
I don't know, 15,000 acres. Yeah. So, but I've gotten some great evidence out there, a lot of vocals and prints and stuff. So,
good deal.
I'm not guaranteeing nothing. I'm one of those researchers that'll tell you I'm not guaranteeing nothing.
No,
but all I can tell you is we're going to be in the woods.
Yeah. I've been in it enough now to know that it's more strikeout than not.
Yeah.
But
what I can guarantee you, the only money you're not going to drive, 16 hours.
So. Yeah, that's a lifesaver in itself. But it'll be a good time just getting out in the woods and out regardless,
Oh yeah. All right, Frank. Man, dude, it was great to have you, man. I've been looking forward to this interview, and and I think you've got a lot of podcasts in your future. I don't know if I was your first one or not, but
I think
you've got a lot.
I think one, but it wasn't like this. So I mean, this is pretty much kind of the first really podcasts that I've done. I mean, I've been interviewed by one other person, but other than that, it was not like this. So I
All
really
right.
appreciate it, I really appreciate it. Hopefully,
Well, you
like I
got
said,
my permission to take this and put it anywhere you want. You can share it to whoever you want, whatever you want, dude. You got my
okay,
permission.
awesome, man. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I'm just somebody trying to learn, man. You know, having fun doing it.
We all are. We all are.
Yeah, yeah,
20 years later, I'm still trying to learn.
yeah. I believe it. So I'm looking forward to the journey, man. I'm just trying to enjoy it, and you know, whatever comes, we'll see. But I got to get better at I probably need to set up something where I can post some of my recordings and stuff. But I just been enjoying the ride so far. Just a lot of traveling
Right.
and trying to be into it. So I'll probably have to hit you up on some of that because I'm not a tech savvy person when it comes to computers. So I have to
I'm
figure.
self-taught, but I've learned a lot.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. See, that's another thing I'll have to pick somebody's brain and learn. So, because, but
Yeah,
yeah,
not
man,
a
I
problem, dude.
really appreciate you reaching out and giving me the opportunity to be on here.
Oh no, thank you for making the time. Like again, I respect you as what everything that you're doing. You're an investigator now. And then at some point you'll be a researcher where you're out there doing your own
Yeah.
thing, trying to find things. But keep interviewing, keep talking to these people, get their stories out there. You know what I mean? And if any of them's interested in doing a podcast,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
here for them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? They
Yeah.
don't get
Definitely, man.
judged. They get an
Right.
opportunity to tell their story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
if
got.
you got anybody that says, "Hey, this guy's interested in doing it,"
Yeah.
send me. Give
Yeah.
them
I
my
will.
email address, whatever you want to do. You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
will. I got
Um,
some people that would. They're Well, the one, she's kind of doing the same thing I'm doing, and we became investigators the same day, but she's kind of like a survivalist, and she does a lot. She's really big into the national track and stuff, and she'll be big into it too because God bless her, she's a little thing, but I tell you what, she's got more nerves than most dudes that I know because she goes out and stays in some of the wildest places by herself, and I respect her a lot just because, it's one thing doing it as a guy, it's another thing doing
yeah.
it as a woman, and I'm not saying that
Oh
being
no,
disrespectful to
I'm
women.
with you.
There's a lot of weirdos out there that prey upon them, and uh, she's a tough little thing, man, and yeah, she'd
No,
be one.
I love having the women on the show because
Yeah,
they get a lot of respect from me, and I've had quite a few women on here because
yeah,
they're. I'm not saying this is a man dominated field, but there's a lot of
right,
men in this field, and
yep,
these
yep.
women are stepping up. They're going out there. They're being a part of it, and I respect them all. And I think it's fabulous. You know.
She stayed in some more gnarlier places than a lot of people that I would know, and by herself. And
Right.
so that alone I respect. And but yeah, I'll try to pass some people your way too.
All right, I appreciate it. We got some open dates coming up too. We got some
Okay,
open dates in November and December. So,
okay,
I would, so if there's anybody that you want to talk to and say, hey, if you want to do this podcast, great guys. Johnny and me are great guys. We don't
yeah,
judge. We listen to them, let them tell their piece, and
right,
we'll have them on, have them, and they can go. Like I said, they don't have to show their face if they don't want to. They don't have to give their name if they want.
yeah, yeah,
They don't want
right,
to.
right,
So it's
yeah,
completely up to them. So,
yeah, yeah,
all right,
definitely.
Frank.
Awesome,
Um,
brother. Hey, I really
Thank you for
appreciate
being
it.
here, dude. I think it was a great show.
Thank you, man.
You did an outstanding job. Like I said, I thank God and I'm blessed that you were able to do this. And we'll do it again. There's no doubt. And like I said, open invite anytime you want. I think it's set in stone somewhere, somehow. Me and you are going to get together and do some field work. So
Oh, definitely,
um, take care.
definitely.
Take
You
care of
too,
your
brother.
family, and
You too.
have a good Halloween and enjoy yourself. And
Aw-
I'll be talking to you soon, buddy.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate you.
Take care, man. All right. Well, that was the show tonight. Like I said, a little bit different. It's not an encounter. It's not a this and that. It's this guy's journey, this guy's adventure, and I think it's awesome. And I hope a lot of you guys get motivated by it and decide to, do the same thing. Get out there, get in the woods, take your phone with you, start videotaping, start taking photographs, whatever it is you want to do. Just don't send me no blob squatch, but enjoy yourself and get out in the woods. It's a win-win situation. You're gonna enjoy yourself. Get your kids out there. Get them accustomed to being out in the woods and hiking and showing them things and stuff like that. It's a great time. God bless each and every one of you guys. We had a fantastic chat room tonight. We had a lot of people watching the show. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. I'm sorry Johnny was sick. It happens. But he'll be back soon. And I think we have another show come up in 2 weeks because we like to do every other week, kind of spread it out a little bit so we don't get burned out. But God bless each and every one of you guys. Have a fantastic Halloween. Enjoy yourselves. That's coming up soon. And just we'll see you soon. And take care, guys.